Backe is ready. Eckstein is ready. And we are underway in Houston with a fastball poured in for a called strike. Eckstein 2 for 11 with a couple of RBIs in this series. Hit .294 during the regular season. Backe winds and works, and the 0-1, a fastball in at the knees, called strike 2. As a borderline call goes Houston's way early. Eckstein steps out for a moment. Now he's really going to have to grind, something he does as well as any hitter in baseball. The 0-2 from Backe and a slider down and away. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The slider, a very important pitch for Brandon Backe.
Yeah, and one of the jobs for David Eckstein in that leadoff spot, try to see as many pitches from Backe as he can, and then go back and report to his teammates what the stuff looks like. Eckstein's seen 2 fastballs and a slider so far. He'll try to battle, maybe try to turn this into about a 7-pitch at bat.
Backe has his sign, and the 1-2, a high fastball and a check swing by Eckstein. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Time of the first pitch here today, 3:46 Central Time, 82 beautiful degrees outside, 72 climate-controlled degrees inside here at Minute Maid Park. Backe ready again in the 2-2, the fastball high, and the count now full. Eckstein is doing his job.
This will be the 6th pitch coming to David, so he's going to make Backe work. See if he can get aboard here.
Edmonds on deck, then Pujols due up in the first inning for the Cardinals. The 3-2 and a fastball taken high, ball 4, and Eckstein races down to first base as he always does when he draws the walk. A good plate appearance there by David Eckstein.
Yeah, it is, and what Brad Osmus has to do with Brandon Backe right now, maybe throw a curveball, slow his delivery down. He missed with 3 consecutive pitches up in the zone. That means he's rushing, isn't staying over the rubber long enough, and sometimes the way you get him out of that is to throw a breaking pitch.
Eckstein will be held on at first by Lamb. Ensberg even with a bag at third. Everett and Biggio backed up for the double play up the middle. The outfielders deep and straight away as Jim Edmonds steps in. Backe sets and fires, and Edmonds takes a strike. Edmonds 2 for 10 in the series. Hit .263 with 29 home runs during the regular season. Steps out for a moment, and then with his foot starts obliterating the back chalk line of the batter's box. He stands very deep in the box with a wide stance. Hardly has any kind of a step or a leg kick with that front leg. Now the left-handed hitter raising the bat up above his shoulder, and the pitch from Backe just outside. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Cardinals need to punish Backe for the mistake on Eckstein. Starts out with 2 brilliant pitches down and away, and then can't locate the strike zone to save his life.
Eckstein 11 steals on the season, but he was caught 8 times. Backe looking into Osmus. Edmonds the hitter. Pujols is on deck. Just underway, first inning here in Houston. 1-1 the count. Runner not going in the pitch. A fastball inside. 2-1 now on Jim Edmonds. Backe is struggling right now after starting off the game great with a couple of strikes. Walked Eckstein. Now he's fallen behind Edmonds. He is the number 4 starter for the Astros, with Pettit, Oswalt, and Clemens all scheduled to start twice should the series go the distance. Eckstein is not running in the 2-1. A breaking ball bounced weakly and foul first base side over into the Astros dugout, where I think Jose Vizcaino made a play on it, and it's 2-2 on Edmonds.
Confidence builder right there. Brad Osmus going to a curveball, 2 balls and 1 strike, and very good pitch by Brandon Backe.
Backe up on the rubber, waiting for Edmonds to step back in, which he now does, clapping his hands. The home plate umpire, Phil Cuzzy, wanted to keep it moving. Edmonds staring out toward the pitcher, who glances over in the direction of Eckstein at first. And now the 2-2 and a swing and a foul back by Edmonds into the screen. Winds up near Pujols, and he'll make a fan by handing it off to a kid in a good seat. Little guy about maybe 8 years old caught that ball in an Astros cap that Albert Pujols tossed to him. That's a memory for a little guy.
Jim Edmonds, power to all fields. He can go straight away left field. So those Crawford boxes, a short porch in left field, very accessible to Jim Edmonds on something away from him.
Just 3:15 down the line. It is a 19-foot high scoreboard there, so you got to get it up in the air a little bit. We saw Mike Lamb do that yesterday for the Astros. Backe sets. And the 2-2 to Edmonds, a swing and a short hop, one hopper out to Biggio, on to Everett for 1, back to first, double play. A 4-6-3 double play on a ball that might have been caught, might have been taken on a bounce, and the Astros turn the double play.
Well, David Eckstein got caught a little bit in between. He didn't know. We couldn't tell if it was going to carry out to Biggio. But once again, Albert Pujols hits with 2 outs and nobody on. And if the Astros can continue to do that throughout the series, that increases their chances big time to win.
Good play by Everett, the shortstop, with Eckstein bearing down on him. Got off a strong throw to get Edmonds by a half step at first. Now Pujols. 2 outs, nobody on the Cardinal first. And the pitch down and away in the dirt. Pujols is 4 for 11 with a home run in this series. And in his career against Backe, 4 for 15. That's the good news for Backe. The bad news for Backe, all 4 hits have been home runs.
Well, if Albert Pujols could have hit that first pitch for a home run, he'd be the greatest hitter that ever lived. It was on the ground outside.
1-0 the count. Backe into his windup. And the pitch, a curveball swung on and missed. It's 1-1. Pujols, an MVP candidate. We'll find out about that in the offseason. Certainly going to be up there. Might win it for the first time in his career. The voting, of course, completed at the end of the regular season, so the ballots are in. But Pujols finished second in the league in hitting, third in the league in home runs, and second in the league in RBIs. 1-1 the count. Backe winds and works, and a broken bat fly ball sounded like hit down the left field line, and it is foul. Just to the left of the pole, as that got way in on the hands of Pujols. Maybe he didn't break his bat. It sounded to me like he did. He hit it more than 315 feet. It had the distance, but it wound up just to the left of the pole. This is one strong hombre.
Yeah, it is. Greg Gibson, left field umpire, right down there on the call. No argument. Jose Akenda, the third base coach, came out and took a peek as well. No argument from the Cardinals.
And Pujols looked over his bat, but it's okay as he steps right back in. Backe probably a sigh of relief. Now out in front, 1-2. And the pitch, a slider. Did he go? Yes, he did. Bill Cousy says Pujols went, and he is gone. They'll complete the out with a throw down to first because the ball was in the dirt. Now Jeff Suppan will face Craig Biggio as the Astros come to bat in the bottom of the first. First pitch from Suppan, a hot shot down to third. Mabry to his knees to make the play, back up to his feet, and he fires across the diamond to Pujols to get him. 1 pitch, 1 out. Mabry tested early, filling in for Nunez at third base.
Yeah, Mabry in laughing with Suppan. You know, we were talking to Tony La Russa, said, is it kind of true that whenever you put a new guy in the lineup at a new position, they always find him? I guess Mabry went into Suppan and said, hey, Jeff, you didn't have to do it on the first pitch.
Mabry, a valuable sub for the Cardinals, can play first, third, left, and right. Left-handed hitter and a pretty good one. Here's Chris Burke getting the start in center field again. The pitch from Suppan, a fastball in for a strike. Yesterday was Burke's second career start in center. He had a total of 13 innings in center field in his life before yesterday. The 0-1 in the dirt, a ball and a strike, was tested a couple of times on a deep fly to right center, and then the very next hitter, Pujols, hit a deep fly to left center. Burke went 1 for 4 in yesterday's game.
Well, think about the 1968 World Series when Tiger manager Mayo Smith moved center fielder Mickey Stanley to shortstop to start. That's a little bit more of a stretch, and it paid off, and the Tigers won that World Series over the Cardinals 4-3.
No score, bottom of the first, 1 out for the Astros, and the 1-1 to Burke. Fastball fouled off right side, second deck, 1-2. This lineup allows Phil Garner to keep Mike Lamb in at first, and Lamb homered yesterday. Allows him to keep Jason Lane in the lineup, and Lane had a big RBI single yesterday. The odd man out today, as was the case yesterday, rookie center fielder Willie Taveras, who came on for defense in the 9th in yesterday's game. Here's the 1-2 from Suppan, and he missed outside.
I don't think there's any question. This is Garner's best offensive lineup. And his goal is to get a lead and then go for defense later on.
Suppan, a 16-game winner this year, a 16-game winner last year. Won the clinching game in the division series last year and the NLCS against the Astros. The 2-2 is lined into left center field, and Edmonds will jog over and make the catch in the alley, making it look easy on what was a frozen rope to left center, but a good play by Edmonds.
Well, Jeff Suppan does not have the Astros popping up right now, but sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. May take Suppan a little while to get the touch and feel of the strike zone. He hasn't pitched in 3 weeks. He's going to throw strikes, but right now his location is in the middle of the plate.
The reason Suppan hasn't pitched in so long, the last week of the season, the Cardinals had a couple of off days, and they were trying to set up their top three of Carpenter, Mulder, and Morris for their starts in the first round of the playoffs. Here's Lance Berkman, and he takes just low, ball one. And then over the final weekend of the season, they were playing Cincinnati. And Cincinnati had hit Suppan very hard, and Tony La Russa didn't want him to get hit hard the last weekend and maybe lose some confidence going into the playoffs. So they didn't pitch him the last weekend. The 1-0 at the knees for a strike, 1-1. Then in the first round against San Diego, they swept. Otherwise, Suppan would have started game 4. So it has been almost 3 weeks since Suppan pitched, but he's in the rotation. Jason Marquis, the odd man out of the postseason rotation plans for the Cardinals. He's in the pen right now. 2 outs, nobody on, no score, bottom of the first. The 1-1 to Berkman, a swing and a foul back, 1-2.
In case when you heard Berkman and Burke and Biggio come up to the plate today, you heard that. That's the killer bee sign. The noise that they put on the scoreboard out there yesterday, it was a killer L's. Lamb and Lane that did the damage for the Astros. Mike Lamb with a 2-run homer and Jason Lane with an RBI single.
We see another killer bee off the bench as we did yesterday if Jeff Bagwell gets into this game later on as a pinch hitter. Suppan looking into Molina. Now rocks into the windup. And the 1-2, a swinging a ground ball to the right side to his left to second baseman Grzelcyk up with it and on to first in plenty of time to retire Berkman. The Astros go in order. We're through an inning and it is scoreless here in Houston. Tony La Russa was a little more encouraged by his at-bats yesterday than in the 2 games in St. Louis. So Walker in the lineup hitting cleanup. Reggie Sanders back in the lineup. He's on deck. Backe's first pitch, and it drops into the knees for a called strike 1. The infielders playing Walker to pull slightly. Same with the outfielders. Burke shaded over to right center. The 0-1 from Backe and a swing and a ground ball out to second. Biggio 2 steps to his right, up with it, taps the glove once, on to first, in time. Walker hits it sharply, but he's retired.
One of the interesting little numbers inside the game yesterday, Roger Clemens, he battled and battled and battled. He pitched 6 innings. He had exactly 1 swing and miss the entire game. Brandon Backe's already had 2, and 2 with Albert Pujols, so that's pretty impressive in the early going.
Reggie Sanders, the batter now, suffered that injury, headache and neck injury and sore back, whiplash type injuries after that fall on the warning track in St. Louis in game 2 on Thursday. 1 out, nobody on, no score, top of the second. And the pitch from Backe, swing and a miss with a good sharp slider. And it's 0-1. Until the injury, of course, Reggie Sanders was the hottest hitter on the planet, and the Cardinals need somebody to get hot here.
Yeah, I mean, Reggie carried him through the division series. They kept pitching around Albert Pujols, and Sanders made him pay.
Sanders missed a couple of months during the regular season with a broken leg. Here's the 0-1, fastball outside, a ball and a strike. Don't forget, later on tonight, Game 5 of the American League Championship Series. The White Sox are a win away from advancing to the World Series for the first time since 1959. And they have not won the World Series since 1917. The second longest drought in baseball. Only the Cubs longer. 1-1 down and away, ball 2. And Ozzie Guillen is getting phenomenal starting pitching right now.
I mean, they've given up 8 runs in 4 games, 2 per game, and he's had to use the bullpen for 2/3 of an inning, 3 consecutive complete games. Unbelievable.
Yep. The Angels, Guerrero's not hitting. Anderson's not hitting. Figgins is not hitting. Nobody's doing much offensively right now for the Angels. The 2-1 to Sanders, and it's a fastball over the outside corner for a strike, 2-2. And just the amateur eye up here suggests that Phil Cuzzy's got a pretty liberal strike zone, both down and outside right now.
Yeah, well, that should help both pitchers, though, if they can hit their spots.
Neither one of them an overpowering guy. Both of them 4-pitch pitchers who need to change speeds, move the ball around. Crowd waving their towels around again here at Minute Maid Park. 2-2 the count on Reggie Sanders. Backe deals, and a curveball, a check swing by Sanders. The appeal to first, and he did not go. Says Larry Poncino, the count now full.
A little anticlimactic. Osmus kept pointing down, and finally Cuzzy asked, and Poncino with the ever so slow palms down safe sign, no swing.
It beats the way Ken Kaiser used to make that call. I think I told you this.
He get his hands out of his pockets?
Yeah, he'd have his thumbs in his pockets, and all he would do is lift up his fingers like that. The rest of his hand His hands would never even come out of his pockets. Now Sanders will step out after asking for time, being granted by Cuzzy. John Mabry on deck.
That was okay if you were umpiring in Cleveland in April when you wanted to keep your hands in your pocket. It was so cold.
Backe ready to go. Back into the windup in the 3-2. And it's strike three called at the knees outside corner. Sanders heading back to the dugout. 2 down.
Danny, we talked a little bit and touched on the injury factor for the Cardinals in postseason. You go back to 2000, Mike Matheny had accidentally cut himself with a knife. He missed it. Mark McGuire was out with a knee. Garrett Stevenson blew his arm out. Pat Henkin was on fumes. Rick Ankiel had the meltdown. That was 2000. 2002, Scott Rowland got hurt. And that was the year they'd had the unfortunate deaths of Kyle and Jack Buck and Enos Slaughter, all that Cardinal family.
John Mabry looks at a breaking ball for a strike.
They're 0-4. And then last year, their #1 ace, Chris Carpenter, can't pitch in postseason. And now this year, Walker's banged up, Sanders, Rowland. I mean, they just haven't really been rolling in a lot of luck.
The 0-1 at the knees, called strike 2. Mabry thought that was low, but as we mentioned, Phil Cuzzy is calling a lot of strikes today. You go back to the 80s, they still talk about the tarp eating Vince Coleman and Jack Clark getting hurt. The 0-2 breaking ball outside, a ball and 2 strikes.
All of those pale with in comparison to how they got hurt with a certain call at first base.
Yes. Right. 2 out, nobody on, no score. Top of the second. Crowd really getting into it now. The 1-2 to Mabry. Swing and a miss at a slider. The inning is over. 3 up and 3 down to go the Cardinals. A couple of strikeouts in the inning for Backe. Morgan Ensberg leading off the second for Houston against Jeff Suppan. And the pitch inside corner for a called strike. 0-1. Ensberg 1 for 10 in the series. Led the Astros with 36 home runs and 101 RBIs during the regular season. A right-handed hitter with an extremely open stance. The 0-1 and a slider in the dirt, a ball and a strike. Between innings, Soup, Tony La Russa, the Cardinal manager, came out and had not a heated conversation, but didn't look all that chummy either with Phil Cuzzy, the home plate umpire. All we can do is guess, but I would imagine it might have had something to do with the strike zone in the top of the second. Maybe Tony just saying, make sure you call it both ways. Because it looks like Phil Cuzzy has a pretty big strike zone so far here today. The 1-1 and it's low, ball 2.
Never know what goes on in the mind of Mr. La Russa. We will tell you this, that he's #3 in the history of Major League Baseball in wins for a manager. So whatever he does must be successful, certainly more often than not.
And always looking for an edge of any kind.
Mm-hmm.
Very deep in left, Sanders, just a couple of feet in front of the warning track. Again, that wall's not that far away. The 2-1 and a ground ball base hit through the left side. Ensberg is aboard with a single to lead off the Houston second.
Well, these two teams have scored 20 runs in the 3 games. That's an average of about 6.67 per ball game. And with the #1 and 2 pitching staffs in Major League Baseball, that's not a surprise. We kind of thought on paper if there was one game that might score some runs more than another, this was probably it.
Yeah, these are the game 4 starters. And during the regular season, both of these guys would be considered the #4 starters in their rotations. Here's Mike Lamb, the first baseman, who hit the big 2-run home run off Matt Morris in yesterday's game. Pitches .236 on the season, but finished very strong, hitting over .300 in September. Left-handed hitter. And the pitch is in for a strike. Lamb says that short porch and left suits his swing. He's kind of an inside-out guy and likes to take the ball the other way. So he may have gotten a home run yesterday that he wouldn't have gotten somewhere else, but he also hit the ball 430 feet to straightaway center yesterday and didn't get a home run. It went for a double up on Towles Hill. That's as hard a ball, as Lamb says, he has ever hit in his life. Here's the 0-1 and a swing and a foul off left side, back out of play, 0-2.
One of those statistical oddities. Mike Lamb has hit 4 home runs in 22 postseason lifetime at bats. 1 every 5.5 per at bats. That's the most ever of anybody that's had 20 at bats. I showed that to Lamb. I said, "That's your ticket to the Hall of Fame." He says, "No." He says, "I still have to pay to get in."
0-2 the count. Leadoff man aboard here in the bottom of the second. Ensberg is at first, being held by Pujols. Suppan sets, and the pitch, and it's outside. Suppan originally came up in the Boston Red Sox organization, a second-round pick back in '93. He was claimed by the Diamondbacks in the expansion draft, pitched for Kansas City and Pittsburgh, back to Boston again, and now completing his second year with the Cardinals. Ensberg edging off first. 1-2 the count. And the pitch to Lamb upstairs. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Suppan, one of those guys that the Cardinals have to make a decision on about their pitching staffs. Matt Morris is going to be a free agent. Suppan has a $4 million option, and Jason Marquis is going to be eligible for arbitration. So there's going to be some tough decisions for Walt Jocketty and his lieutenants this winter.
They've got a young pitcher, Anthony Reyes, who they think is probably ready to be a full-time starter or full-time help at the major league level. So one of those veterans probably will be somewhere else next year. The 2-2, and it's fouled off over the third base dugout as Lamb went after a down and in pitch and just got a piece on it. It was way down and in, and he fought it off over the third base dugout. So the count remains 2-2.
Yeah, I think Mike has been observing the strike zone of Phil Cuzzy and knows he better not take anything close.
That word spreads pretty quickly in a major league dugout, I would imagine, as well.
Well, also, if you're out on the field, you can see it with your own eyes.
Outfielders straight away, infielders looking for the double play. 2 balls, 2 strikes to count. Ensberg a short lead, not going. And the pitch, a swing and a miss, a good changeup by Suppan, and he strikes out Lamb, 1 down.
Suppan getting a little sharper with each hitter that walks up there. He threw a good inside strike to Ensberg. He made about 4 quality pitches to Lamb. Lamb was able to chunk one off foul. But all of a sudden, he's starting to find the range now. In the first inning, he was in the middle of the plate and got away with a couple of pitches.
Now the batter is Jason Lane, the right fielder, a right-handed batter. Another USC guy, all excited about the big win over Notre Dame yesterday. Lane hit .267 with 26 home runs during the regular season. The first pitch from Suppan, a swing and a little looper into shallow left, a base hit. Sanders will play it on a bounce. Ensberg up to second. Lane got jammed, but he fights it off for a single.
Yeah, you do have to pitch in here, even with those short boxes out in left field. Guys like to get their arms extended. You have to pound inside. Suppan didn't get it quite far enough in, but at least he limited the damage.
Now Brad Ausmus. And the bottom of the order has been important to the Astros in this series. They haven't scored a ton of runs, but Ausmus has had a big hit. Lane has had a big hit. Everett has had a big hit. See if Ausmus can deliver here. First and second, 1 out. Scoreless game, bottom of the second. Mabry even with a bag at third. Pujols deep at first. Suppan sets. And the pitch to Ausmus, a slider down and away, ball 1.
One number that kind of jumps out on the negative side for the Astros, despite being up 2-1, they are only 2 for 23 with men in scoring position, so they got to do better than that.
The Cardinals having the same kind of trouble, just like the Angels are having over in the ALCS. 1-0 the count. Suppan to bend at the waist, looking into Molina as Ausmus waits. Everett is on deck. Ausmus 3 for 10 in the series. The 1-0, and it's there over the inside corner for a strike. Fastball with a little late movement on it, and it's 1-1.
Suppan, a real technician. He'll change speeds. He has to hit the edges. In that respect, having an umpire with a fairly liberal strike zone should play into his hand pretty well today.
Tony La Russa said had Al Reyes, a middle reliever, not gotten hurt, then Jason Marquis would have been the 4th starter. And Suppan would have gone to the pen, but the injury changed everything. There's the 1-1 and a check swing foul off over back to the screen. It's 1-2. When they lost Reyes, they needed somebody who could eat up innings in the middle, and they thought Marquis was a guy who could pitch day after day after day. Give him an inning, 2 innings almost every day, and that Suppan couldn't do that. So it was out of necessity, says Tony La Russa, that Marquis went to the pen and Suppan stayed in the rotation. You're in pretty good shape when you're contemplating moving a 16-game winner into the bullpen for the playoffs. The pitching is in good shape for the Cardinals. It's the lineup that is banged up. Now time is called.
Yeah, you talk about being the Rodney Dangerfield of the pitching staff. Only 2 pitchers in the National League have won 16 or more 2 years in a row. Jeff Suppan and Roy Oswalt.
And Suppan, pitching for the first time in almost 3 weeks, barely kept his spot in the rotation. Here's the 1-2, and it is just low. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Molina held it for a good second after he caught it before throwing it back to the mound. That is the kind of pitch that has been called a strike on several occasions already today. So now 2-2. Ausmus might have gotten a break. Tony La Russa no doubt displeased right now in that third base dugout. First and second, 1 out, no score, bottom of the second. Suppan has his side. And the 2-2 to Ausmus. A breaking ball swung on and missed, and Ausmus has gone 2 down.
Well, again, Suppan is really pitching right now. In, out, changing speed. Strikes out Osmus on the slow breaking ball. Got Lamb on the change. So he's making quality pitches. The only time he's gotten burned in the inning is when he's tried to come in with his fastball. And Ensberg and Lane both were able to find seams to put the ball into left field.
Now Adam Everett, the shortstop, hitting 8th again today. Hit 248 with 11 homers during the regular season. 4 for 12 with an RBI in this series. Ensberg at second, Lane at first. Suppan sets, checks the runner. And the pitch in for called strike one.
I think the approach you may have to take against Suppan if you're sitting and observing in that dugout is, yes, he's going to try to keep me honest inside, but if I'm a right-handed batter, I think he probably wants to throw 2 out of 3 pitches away from me. So you have to give up one side of the plate or the other when a guy's got this good of control.
Edmonds circling around out in center, took about 6 steps to his right, then retraced his steps, took about 6 steps back to his left to exactly where he was in the first place. Now he's walking in about 6 or 7 steps. His time is called, and Molina's going to go out to the mound to talk to Suppan. Don't know if Edmonds is just trying to stay loose or if he's trying to mix up Everett, not give him some kind of an indication of where he's going to play him. Right now, he is shallow out in center field.
Yeah, I just wonder if that sun is any kind of an effect out there coming through the glass partitions out in left field. Maybe that Edmonds is getting a better view by standing in the shadows.
He has come just in front of the area. Well, now he's backing up again. It's a pitch up and in, a ball and a strike on Everett. So he's backed up right to the edge of where the shadows meet the sunlight. Reggie Sanders is standing in sunlight for the most part out in left field. Larry Walker doesn't have that to worry about in right, but it'll shift over the course of the game toward right field.
I figure Edmonds just wanted us to talk about him.
2 out, 2 on. No score in the second. And the 1-1 to Everett. A swing and a ground ball to short. Eckstein has it. Flips it to short way to Grzelcyk to force Lane. And the inning is over. No runs, 2 hits, 2 men left on. 2 scoreless innings in the books. Randy Backe back up on the mound. Yadier Molina will lead off the third for the Cardinals, the young catcher. And the first pitch from Backe, fastball down and away, ball 1. Through 2 innings, Backe has not surrendered a hit. He has walked 1. He has struck out 3. And that a walk was erased on a double play ball. Want to know the count on a Molina. 4 for 11 in the series. And the pitch, a slider just low, and it's 2 balls, no strikes. Molina during the season hit .252 with 8 home runs and 49 RBIs. His brothers are on the ropes right now with the Angels. Down 3-1 to the White Sox. The 2-0 and a fastball there for a strike. 2-1.
Saw you talking to him yesterday. Did they communicate much during this time of year?
They leave the odd message every now and again, but they're all busy.
Yeah.
I'm sure a little text messaging, a little voicemail here and there. He is much younger than Benji and Jose. The 2-1, a swing of the ball popped up down the right side in foul territory. Lamb coming over near the seats won't have a play. Benji is 31, Jose is 30, and Yadier is only 23, and was a pitcher and a third baseman until about the age of 14. And he started emulating guys like Benito Santiago and Pudge Rodriguez and said, well, this catching thing, that might be my ticket to the big leagues. And it didn't take him long to become a standout behind the plate.
Well, he's got a cannon for an arm, and he's quick back there, too.
Here's the 2-2. And a slider reached for and tapped past the mound out to short. Charged by Everett. Throws on the run to get him 1 down.
Veritable gazelle, comparing him to his brothers. He got down the line with a little bit of speed.
Yep. And the first pitch, a swing and a miss at a slider. Boy, that is just what Grzelcyk was beating himself up about yesterday. The 0-1, there's the fastball in for a strike, 0-2. Grzelcyk just 1 for 12 in the series, and his hit was in his first at bat back in game 1. So he's 0 for his last 11. Crowd all excited with his 0-2 count. Backe gets his sign from Osmus, and the pitch, a swing and a ground ball to short again. Routine for Everett, up with it, and on to first, 2 down. Phil Garner said, boy, that Jack Wilson, he said he makes Ozzie Smith look like he couldn't play the position. Every single game in Pittsburgh plays Houston about 15, 16 times a year. He said he's flipping them out of the glove, behind the back, diving stops, leaping in the air, over the shoulder. He thinks Jack Wilson is the second coming based on the way he's played shortstop against Houston.
Yeah, I think if Phil had a Hall of Fame vote, he'd go for Jack right now.
He is a great, great defensive player. Here's Jeff Suppan. Hit .207 on the season. First pitch swinging. High fly ball to left center. Burke, fighting the sunlight, drifting back, is there to make the catch, and the inning is over. We'll go to the bottom of the third. No score here in Houston. Dan Shulman and Dave Campbell with you as pitcher Brandon Backe will lead off the third for the Astros. We mentioned a good hitter. Drafted as a second baseman by Tampa Bay a few years back. Hit .222 this year for the Astros. A couple of doubles and a couple of triples. The pitch from Suppan. Backe shows bunt, takes high ball one. That got the attention of Maid down at third. Backe, a right-handed hitter. He'll be followed by Craig Biggio and then Chris Burke. Suppan looking into Molina. And now the 1-0 to Backe. And it's a fastball in at the belt for a strike. 1-1. And you can hear the umpires gathered in the good seats behind the plate. Thought that ball was a little bit high, but it looks like Phil Cuzzi has a very big strike zone in a number of directions. Although that was borderline. That easily could have been in there by anybody's way of viewing the strike zone. Now pitch taken low. 2 balls and a strike on Backe.
Backe probably upset they didn't play the Killer Bee hum for him. He was the honorary Killer Bee after he pitched that one hitter last year in postseason.
The 2-1 and a big swing and a miss. And he almost falls down after the swing. He swung so hard, and the crowd loves it. I have never heard more cheering for a home swing and a miss than we heard right there. But he was going for the Crawford boxes.
Crawford boxes. He was going for Union Station across the street.
Here's the 2-2, and a breaking ball shot down the right field line, foul.
There was a time in baseball, and maybe not necessarily with a pitcher, but if some player came out of his shoes like that and took a swing and fell down, he'd be falling down again on the next pitch because he'd be right at his ear hole.
Backe looked like he swung so hard his front foot, his left foot slid a little bit. He lost his footing and almost wound up sitting on home plate. Now the 2-2 and another big swing, this time a foul back at a high fastball. So Backe is making Suppan work.
The way he's swinging, he's got to be careful not to pull his back out of joint.
Backe has been terrific on the mound so far. 3 shutout innings, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts, no hits allowed. The Astros have a couple of base hits, but that's all. The 2-2 and a curveball just low, and the count is full. Boy, Suppan wanted that one, and I can't blame him for being upset that he didn't get it. By the time Molina caught it, it was low, but remember, it's where it crosses the plate. Crowd loving this at bat here by Brandon Backe, leading off the third. Here's the 3-2 and a swing and a ground ball to short. Eckstein waits for the extra hop and still enough on the throw to get him. 1 down. Fans, log on to ESPNradio.com to ask Dave Campbell your Equifax question of the game. It's easy. Just click the Equifax question of the game link and submit your question. If your question is answered on the air, you'll receive an ESPN Radio gift pack. Back to the top of the Astro lineup now for second baseman Craig Biggio. First guy in the clubhouse today. First guy at the ballpark for the Astros. 39 years young and still looks like he enjoys the game as much as he did when he came up about 17 years ago.
Yeah, it still looks about 25.
Can't stand guys like that. Mabry even with a bag at third. Maybe a step over toward the line. Everybody else deep on the infield. And the pitch to Biggio in at the knees for a called strike.
Game 7 last year, Jeff Suppan got the start for the Cardinals, got the win, but he was greeted rather rudely as Biggio led off the game with a home run in St. Louis.
0 for 1 today. The pitch, a breaking ball, little tapper back toward the mound. Off the front of the mound, Suppan up with it and on to Pujols in time. 2 down. So that quiets the crowd a little bit. Now 4 in a row set down by Suppan. Chris Burke will be the batter. Burke hit a fly ball to center field, hit it hard into left center. Edmonds made a nice running catch back in the first inning.
Well, Burke has had a terrific postseason so far for the Astros. 6 for 13, 2 homers, a triple-double, and a single. So he's swinging the bat very well.
Guy who hit just .248 during the regular season and spent about a month down in the minors after struggling early. Came back up and basically platooned. Played against lefties. Pitch from Suppan is down low, ball 1. Only because of how hot he has been recently, as Phil Garner put him in the lineup yesterday and again today against a right-handed pitcher. Here's the 1-0, and a slider misses down and away, ball 2.
We were asking Garner before the game, it seems though every hunch you went with yesterday paid off. He said, well, did you think leaving Qualls in was a hunch? And I went, not the way he was throwing. He said, well, some people did because they said Wheeler's my 8th inning guy. But he said the way Qualls was throwing, I wasn't taking him out.
Yep. 6 up and 6 down for Qualls yesterday. The 2-0 down and away, ball 3.
And over the course of the year, it's like, Jim Hickey, the pitching coach, told the staff, the bullpen, be ready for anything. All bets are off. You may have had a roll during the regular season, but this is a different time of year.
And just as importantly, all the relievers embrace that.
Yeah.
They don't care about who's out there getting the outs as long as somebody's getting the outs. The 3-0, Burke takes all the way, and he takes a pitch of the belt for a strike.
I know
he was about ready to toss the bat away, then thought better of it.
Yeah, I know you talked to Dan Wheeler about that today, too. I mean, he just said, hey.
He said, I don't care. Maybe I'll go 2 today. And he said, that's part of the reason they've been so successful. Nobody down there cares who gets the credit as long as somebody gets the W. Russ Springer gets a lot of credit for being kind of the leader of that bullpen in that regard. The 3-1 and a changeup misses low, ball 4. How about a changeup on 3-1 to a rookie with Lance Berkman on deck?
R-E-S-P-E-C-T.
Wow.
How about that? Surprised that Burke can recognize it. It was a good pitch from Suppan. But Chris, evidently, the eyeballs are working very well today.
Yeah. So that'll get Berkman up with 2 outs. And Burke at first. Scoreless game in the bottom of the 3rd. And the Bees are swarming again here at Minute Maid Park. Sometimes they appear to be louder in our headset than they are here at the ballpark. We may have a little glitch on our board. We're trying to work that out. Berkman grounded out his first time up. Now checks his swing, but he takes a pitch in for a called strike, and it's 0-1. And Berkman is checking with Phil Cuzzi right now, saying, did I swing at that, or did you call a strike? And Phil Cuzzi says, I called it a strike. At least that's my interpretation from the way that he called it. He didn't point at Berkman. And I don't think Berkman liked the answer.
Well, I think Berkman would rather have had him say I swung at it because that was a pitch off the plate.
Throw to first and Burke back in. Burke runs well, but Molina throws well. And all the Cardinal pitchers hold runners well, although some better than others. And I got the feeling that maybe Suppan was closer to the bottom of the group than the top among the Cardinal pitchers. The 0-1 in the dirt, a ball and a strike.
I think I read where Burke stole 72 bases over 2 years at the University of Tennessee, so obviously he's got a little bit of giddy up in his hitch.
At 11 this year, even though he was just a part-time player with the Astros, we saw the speed on the triple that he hit back in Game 2. No score, bottom of the 3rd. 2 outs. Burke at first being held by Pujols, and a 1-1 count on Berkman batting from the left side against the righty Suppan. Suppan sets and the pitch, a swing and a pop-up back out of play over our heads into the upper deck.
Well, let's play guessing baseball right now. Lance Berkman, one of the best hitters on the Astros. Maybe Phil Garner might want to give him a fresh start next inning. Send Burke here. If he makes it, then, Berkman can adjust his swing, maybe go for a single. Worst case scenario, gets thrown out. Berkman leads off next inning.
Grzelcyk out on the edge of the outfield grass, playing Berkman to pull, and Eckstein over towards second base. Outfielders are straight away. Runner not going, and an off-speed pitch taken outside. 2-2 now on Berkman with Morgan Ensberg on deck should the inning continue. A lot of fans were here in the ballpark a couple of hours before game time as soon as they opened the doors and gave the Astros a huge ovation when they finished BP, just when they came off the field an hour and a half before the game. The 2-2, a check swing, and it's just outside, full count. So now Burke will be on the move, and we'll see where Pujols is going to play. For the moment, it looks like he's still going to be on the bag. Now he'll come off first. I think he's trying to get the attention of Suppan. He's going to back up and now play behind the runner. Burke edging out a little bit more towards second. 3-2 the count on Berkman. Suppan sets. Burke goes. And the pitch is swinging a foul off over near the camera bay on the inside of the first base dugout.
Well, you get kind of the idea that the guy the Cardinals don't want to beat them is Lance Berkman. I think they fear him more than any other hitter in the Astro lineup. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out who it is on the other side with Albert Pujols. But right now, Jeff Suppan trying to make that perfect pitch on Berkman. I think if he feels hey, if I walk him, I'll take my chances with Ensberg.
Suppan up to 50 pitches now through 2 2/3. Pujols backs up again. There goes Burke, and another 3-2 is outside. Ball 4. Berkman draws the walk. First and second, 2 down for Ensberg.
Yeah, he keeps going with that changeup. Now all of a sudden the Astro hitters appear to be recognizing it a little better, but he wasn't going to give in to Berkman there. That's no knock on Ensberg. I mean, Morgan hit 36 homers this year and drove in 101 to lead the Astros in both categories, but Suppan probably figures I got a couple of more weapons to get out a right-handed batter than I do a superior left-handed hitter like Berkman.
Ensberg, a base hit to left field his first time up. The Astros threatening with the runners at first and second. 2 down, though, here in the bottom of the third. No score in this game. The Astros leading the series 2-1. Game 5 tomorrow night. And how about this pitching matchup? A rematch of Game 1. Chris Carpenter against Andy Pettitte. But Pettitte feeling better now than he was before Game 1 when he was hit on the knee in batting practice by that line drive that Roy Oswalt hit. Now Suppan sets, checks the runner. And the pitch to Ensberg, a slider down and away, ball 1. Carpenter and Pettitte about as good as it got in the National League this year. So that should be quite a matchup tomorrow night. Game 6, if necessary, will be back in St. Louis on Wednesday. And that would be Roy Oswalt and Mark Mulder, although that has not formally been announced. First and second, 2 down. And the 1-0 to Ensberg in at the knees for a called strike. 1 ball and 1 strike to count on Ensberg. The Astros looking for a big clutch hit to get on the board here today.
Up to 2 for 25 now with men in scoring position, but they've got a guy down there right now in Chris Burke.
Ensberg looks to me like he has closed up his stance a little. It's still very open,
yeah,
but I don't think it's as open as it normally is or as it was yesterday. The 1-1, and it's on the outside corner of strike 1 and 2. And Ensberg is a very mild-mannered guy, shaking his head as he speaks to Cuzzy, backing out of the batter's box. He's a little bit flustered right now. And we talked about it, I think, in the bottom of the first inning for the first time. Phil Cuzzy has a big strike zone here today.
Yeah, but it's big for both sides, yep, so the hitters are going to have to make the adjustment. He's not going to change.
Now 1 and 2. The hitters better be up there hacking. Ensberg has closed up his stance even more, Soup, just between last pitch and this pitch.
Danny, he widens out when he gets 2 strikes on him, tries not to take much of a stride. He changes his approach once he gets 2 strikes on him.
And now the crowd booing as Molina goes to the mound and puts an arm around Suppan's shoulder. This is a big job for a 23-year-old catcher, replacing a guy like Mike Matheny and having to be the catcher, the psychologist, and everything else that he must do for a pitching staff.
Well, one thing, Dave Duncan, the pitching coach, is a former catcher, and they've been grooming Yadier Molina for this for 2 or 3 years, and he learned at the knee of Mike Matheny, who was a great teacher. Duncan is great. They expect a lot out of their catchers defensively and calling the game. I mean, they're like their quarterback on the field.
First and second, 2 down, a ball and 2 strikes to count on Ensberg. No score, bottom of the third, and the pitch. A swing and a ground ball down to third. Mabry up with it, and he plays it on to Grzelcyk to force Berkman at second and end the inning. No runs, no hits, 2 walks, and 2 men left. 3 scoreless innings complete here in Houston. Brandon Backe on the mound for Houston. David Eckstein will lead off the 4th inning for St. Louis. Walked and then erased on a double play back in the 1st. The pitch from Backe, look out as it drops Eckstein to a knee. It was a slider, but it just got away from him. And it missed shoulder height inside, ball 1. Eckstein will be followed by Edmonds and then Pujols. Backe, no hits, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts through 3. The 1-0, a fastball way up high, ball 2, and Backe pounds his right fist into his glove in frustration after that pitch. He has missed badly on his first 2 pitches this inning.
I'm going to go out on a little limb here and say David's going to take a pitch. He definitely is, because he wants to get on base.
2-0 the count. And the pitch Eckstein does take, but he takes just outside, ball 3.
Backe is aiming the ball against Eckstein. He's saying, this is the one guy I don't want to walk. He's thinking too much about it. He's not finishing his pitches.
3-0, and he missed up and in, ball 4. Eckstein draws his 2nd walk of the game. And the leadoff man aboard is Jim Edmonds, comes up for the Cardinals.
He isn't going to dodge that bullet too many times.
Yeah.
He got away with it in the 1st inning as Edmonds wrapped into a double play, but you can't keep walking David Eckstein. You got to make him hit his way aboard.
Remember, Albert Pujols, who's on deck, narrowly missed a home run, just a couple of feet to the left of the foul pole down the left field line. Edmonds now 2 for 11 in the series, moved back up into the 2 spot with Larry Walker hitting 4th today and Reggie Sanders hitting 5th. Sanders back into the lineup. Now the runner is going, and the pitch to Edmonds is sliced down the left field line, a fair ball, and it'll get all the way to the scoreboard before Berkman can play it. Eckstein is going to be held at third, and gliding into second with a double is Jim Edmonds.
Well, Tony La Russa didn't wait around. He's seen his offense be stymied the last few days, and he started a runner right away, and Edmonds smoked one down the left field line. So let's see what the Astros have in mind for Albert Pujols. There is an open base, but you got to deal with Larry Walker, Reggie Sanders after that. So we'll see what they want to do. But that walk to Eckstein is a killer.
Phil Cuzzi, the umpire, initiating a conversation with Pujols before the at-bat began as Cuzzi stepped in front of the catcher Ausmus to talk to Albert. After narrowly missing a home run, Pujols struck out, chased a slider down and away. Second and third, nobody out, no score, 4th inning. Backe sets. And the pitch, a breaking ball right down the middle for a strike. Pujols will step out and adjust the batting gloves, have a practice swing, and now gradually make his way back into the box. Eckstein getting some words from Jose Oquendo, his third base coach. Edmonds off second. Neither middle infielder trying to keep him close. They're both well away from second base. Backe straightens up with a sign. And the 0-1 to Pujols, and it's over the outside corner at the knees. A fastball in a perfect spot, and it's 0-2.
Boy, 2 great pitches by Backe. Infield playing back, conceding the run, but boy, Backe made 2 gems right there. But now Pujols will give in a little bit to put the ball in play.
Ground ball will get a run home. Backe looking into Ausmus, now has his sign. Glances back toward Edmonds at second. Now to Eckstein at third. The 0-2 to Pujols, and a swing and a foul ball. Just got a piece. Just got a sliver of a slider down and away to stay alive.
Well, for whatever reason, Backe has really been able to fool Albert Pujols with that slow breaking ball when he takes a little off the slider. And Ausmus now going out to talk to Backe, but he got him to swing and miss a couple of times back in the first inning and came very close to a major strikeout right there.
Larry Walker is on deck. An 0-2 count on Albert Pujols, who has been the most dangerous hitter the Cardinals have had in this series. No surprise. 4 for 12 with a homer, and he's narrowly missed 2 other homers with foul balls, and he also hit a 400-foot out in yesterday's game. Eckstein at third, Edmonds at second. Scoreless game in the top of the 4th. Backe has a sign from Ausmus. And again, the 0-2 and a breaking ball grounded weakly foul up the third baseline. He has really thrown his slider in good spots against Albert Pujols.
Yeah, amazingly, I'm looking at Brandon Backe, and I'm wondering if maybe the next time David Eckstein comes up, if nobody's on base, he ought to work out of the set. He gets rushing over the wind when he's in the windup. He really gets rushing over the rubber with Eckstein.
Backe exhaling deeply after almost every pitch. The glove held up against his left leg as he looks into Ausmus and now gathers in the sign. Pujols waits. 2 on, nobody out. And again, the 0-2 and a breaking ball hits softly to shallow right center. Jason Lane will come over and make the catch. Eckstein will tag and score. The throw will come into third on a bounce, holding Edmonds at second. Pujols with a sac fly, and the Cardinals take a 1-0 lead.
Couple of things on that play. First of all, Backe made a great pitch. Pujols cut down his swing, put it in play, got a fly ball to right, and Jason Lane made the exact right play, throwing to third base to keep Edmonds perched to second. He wasn't going to get Eckstein at the plate. Throw the ball to third, keep Edmonds at second. We're going to take a base hit to score him.
And one of the reasons Phil Garner wants to leave Lane in the lineup, even when he's struggling to hit, he feels he's a very good right fielder. Takes good routes on the ball, makes good throws. And he held Edmonds at second. So a runner at second, 1 out, 1-0 Cardinals in the 4th. Here's Larry Walker, who grounded out his first time up. Backe's first offering comes in low, ball 1.
You know, Backe never gave Albert Pujols a pitch to hit, but Albert is such a good hitter that once he got 2 strikes on him, he changes his approach. Instead of being a slugger, he becomes a batter at that point, trying to put it in play, and he did.
Walker steps back in. Backe got a new baseball put in after Walker requested a new baseball be put in play. Everett right behind Edmonds out at second, now trying to keep him close, playing closer to the bag because of Walker, a left-handed batter. A 1-0 swing and a miss at a slow curveball. And Backe, with the help of Ausmus, no doubt, has done a very nice job mixing up his pitches today.
Yeah, he has. The only batter that has given him consistent trouble is David Eckstein, and that's just because he's in Backe's head. When a pitcher goes out with the idea the whole approach is don't walk him, that's a defensive mode right there, and that's what he's been in against David Eckstein.
1 ball, 1 strike, the count. And now Backe's going to step off the rubber and walk toward the back of the mound. As Edmonds in his mind right now. The Cardinals have their first hit this inning, and they have their first run this inning as they take a 1-0 lead in the fourth, try to even up the series at 2 apiece. Game 5 tomorrow night here in Houston on ESPN Radio. 1 ball and 1 strike, the count. And now time is called. And now Ausmus to the mound again.
Yep, they're just not communicating real well. Ausmus wants one thing, Backe wants another, and I think Brad, the field general, just kind of went out and said, oh, let's talk about this.
Ausmus has been around about a dozen years in the majors, handles a pitching staff beautifully. The 1-1 and a curveball in the dirt. 2 balls and a strike now on Walker. We'll be with you at 8 o'clock Eastern time, 7 o'clock here locally tomorrow night for the beginning of our broadcast. Game 5 of the NLCS, Pettit and Carpenter tomorrow night. Either the Cardinals will know they've at least gotten the series back to St. Louis, or the Astros will be 1 win away from advancing to their first ever World Series, depending on the outcome of this game today. Runner at second, Edmonds, 1 down. 1-0 St. Louis in the fourth, and the 2-1 to Walker, a swing and a ground ball foul, first base side, 2-2.
So the Cardinals will have their backs against the wall, or will be dead even at 2 apiece.
Yes. Well, the series last year, the home team won all 7 games. Not the case this year with Houston winning game 2.
Well, Houston's had a phenomenal home record since towards the end of last year, 79-29. That is absolutely phenomenal. It's about a 73% winning percentage.
2-2 the count. A look back at Edmonds, and the pitch to Walker just off the outside corner. Tried to backdoor him with a slider, and he didn't miss by much.
Astros last year won 22 of their final 23 at home, and then all 3 against the Cardinals in the LCS.
Full count now on Walker. Sanders is on deck for the Cardinals. Backe has his sign, checks the runner Edmonds at second. Now turns back to the plate, and the 3-2, it's low, ball 4. He walked Walker. Third walk given up today by Backe. First and second one out for Reggie Sanders.
Well, that's one of those walks. It's not the worst thing in the entire world, because Backe was trying to make the perfect pitch. But if he can get Reggie Sanders to hit a ground ball here, he's got a chance to get a double play and get out of the inning. So he wasn't going to give in to Larry Walker, who, even though he's struggling in the series, you make a mistake to him and it's 3-0.
So here's Sanders, who was caught looking back in the second. Burke has now moved over to left center field with the right hand hitting Sanders up there. Biggio at second, playing close to the bag, trying to keep Edmonds from moving too far off second base as Backe misses down and away, ball 1, and Ausmus is going to make yet another trip to the mound, and now he'll be joined by the pitching coach, Jim Hickey.
Yeah, if Backe stays over the rubber, and by that I mean come to your set position, come up and stay slow. Don't try to rush it to the plate. Don't worry about Edmonds trying to steal third base. Just stay smooth and slowly over the rubber and then explode to home plate. He's going to be fine. But when he's rushing, he's getting out of sync and missing the strike zone badly.
The Cardinals saw Brandon Backe in the last week of the regular season, and they hit him pretty hard. He gave up 5 earned runs in just 4 1/3. He gave up 7 hits, including a home run. So they know him. They've seen him. He did well against them last year. He did not do well against them in 3 appearances this year. We'd like to extend a very special welcome again this afternoon to our U.S. servicemen and women stationed around the world and on ships at sea listening to this game on the American Forces Radio Network. Dan Schulman and Dave Campbell with you here in Houston. The Cardinals 1, the Astros 0, top of the 4th. Jim Edmonds at second, Larry Walker at first. 1-0 the count on Reggie Sanders. And the pitch, did Sanders go? Yes, he did. He went after a slider out of the zone. 1-1. Sanders cannot believe that Phil Cuzzy said he chased that. He looked back at Cuzzy, and when Cuzzy said, yes, you did, Sanders almost put his head down between his knees looking down to the dirt and kept it there for about 3 seconds.
Well, Cuzzy clapping his hands, wanting Reggie to get back in there.
The home plate umpire has been a better friend to the pitchers today than to the hitters. 1-1 the count. John Mabry now on deck for the Cardinals. A run in on the Pujols sac fly, scoring Eckstein.
Biggio keeping Edmonds honest at second base. Doesn't want him to get too big a lead.
Backe sets, checks the runner. Now again, and time is called just as he starts his windup. And they can boo Sanders all they want, but it's not going to be given unless the umpire grants it, and the umpire's granting it because Backe is taking a lot of time in the set position. He's looking back to second, then he's turning to the plate, then he's looking back to second a second time before every pitch.
Backe also mad at Reggie Sanders and voiced his displeasure, so that may work for him, it may work against him. Backe's a guy that has to harness his emotions, and right now he's angry.
You think Reggie Sanders is just trying to mess with him right now?
Yeah, why not? Get in his head. You know, this kid's a little bit of a
little excitable.
Yeah, he's feisty, but you know, you can make that work to your advantage too.
1-1 the count. Back and ready for baseball again. Backe has his sign and the pitch, a breaking ball down and away. Ball 2. The first 3 innings, Backe was terrific, but he walked the leadoff hitter here in the 4th, gave up a double to Edmonds that wasn't hit all that hard, but Edmonds sliced it down the left field line, and Berkman was playing him way over to left center. Then Pujols hit a good slider off the end of the bat into shallow right center, but deep enough to get Eckstein home. Then Walker walked, and now it's 2-1 on Sanders.
Doesn't want to go 3-1 here to Reggie. That put him in a real dangerous hitter's count.
Backe sets. And the pitch, fastball at the knees for a strike, 2-2. Sanders is unhappy again. Backe has thrown a lot of fastballs right on the outside corner at the knees. And again, depending on your interpretation of the strike zone, either he's pitching beautifully or he's pitching beautifully and getting a little bit of help. And the same can be said for Jeff Suppan. The crowd on its feet again. 2-2 the count on Sanders. Backe steps off.
Been a very long half inning. Backe has really slowed the pace here when he got his back up against the wall with a third and second and nobody out.
Now Edmonds at second, Walker at first, 1 out, a run in. The 2-2, and it's low, full count on Reggie Sanders.
Well, decision time for Tony La Russa. That's why if you're Phil Garner, you wanted that 2-2 pitch to have something happen there. If he starts the runners, Sanders hits a ground ball, a lot of things can happen, and not too many of them good for the Astros.
Ensberger would be moving toward third. That would widen the hole on the left side of the infield. Let's see what Tony La Russa has in mind. Backe looking into Ausmus, now has his sign. A glance back at Edmonds. The runners are not going, and the 3-2 swung on and missed. He chased the slider, and Backe with a very big out. 2 down.
Well, Backe has made some tremendous pitches this afternoon, but he needs to still find a way to get past John Mabry to get out of this inning. If he can limit the Cardinals to 1 run, damage control after having runners on third and second with the heart of the order up and nobody out, he'll consider himself fortunate.
Now John Mabry struck out back in the second, playing third today in place of the injured Abraham Nunez. Righty against lefty, and the first pitch is a changeup that drops in for a strike at the knees. 0-1. Probably not what John Mabry was looking for on the first pitch. Edmonds at second, Walker at first. 1-0 Cardinals, 4th inning. Now look back at the runner. And the 0-1 to Mabry, a fastball low, 1-1. Backe frustrated now as he gets the ball back from Ausmus. He's talking to himself. He just kicked at the rubber with his right foot. He is frustrated with his inability to execute pitches this inning as he did in the first 3. Now they're chanting his name here at Minute Maid Park, trying to help him on. 1-1 the count. The pitch to Mabry outside, ball 2.
26 pitches in the inning for Brandon Backe, and it did not begin well, walking David Eckstein on 4, and it's been a labor the rest of the inning. He made quality pitches, though, on Albert Pujols and I think even on Larry Walker and certainly on Reggie Sanders. Yep. But he's back where he's got to make another one here.
He's falling behind another hitter. 2-1 the count on Maid, a pretty dangerous left-handed batter. The pitch, a swing and a foul off left side, 2-2. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. You're listening to the National League Championship Series on ESPN Radio, delivered by the United States Postal Service. The noise level rising again at Minute Maid Park with Backe a strike away from ending the inning. First and second, 2 down, 1-0 St. Louis. Backe sets and deals, and a swing and a fly ball hit into right center field. Burke is going back, still tracking it deep. He's got it in front of the warning track, and the inning is over. A run in for the Cardinals, but it could have been worse for Backe and the Astros. Lamb struck out his first time up. And the first pitch of the inning from Suppan, a fastball in there at the belt over the outside corner for a strike, 0-1. Lamb steps out for a moment, adjusts the batting helmet, and now right back in. Jason Lane waiting on deck. Mabry well off the line at third, a step behind the bag as the pitch to Lamb is a curveball outside. It's 1-1. Suppan, a guy not overpowering, 4-pitch guy. Fastball tops out at about 90. Quietly, as we mentioned, a 16-game winner each of the last 2 years. And a guy that Tony La Russa knows won't be scared in October. There's a fastball swung on and missed, and it is 1-2. Tony La Russa's got some concerns about his bullpen right now, with Al Reyes blowing out his arm in the last couple of days of the season, and Julian Tavares not pitching very well. Ray King didn't have a great year. The bullpen not as strong as it was last year. The 1-2 and a swing to ground ball foul down the first base line past Houston first base coach and former Astro and Cardinal star Jose Cruz.
One of the things that's been so interesting about baseball the last few years is you try to measure teams throughout the course of the year, but the last 3 world champions have all made significant roster changes in the second half of the year.
Here's the 1-2 to Lamb. Swing and a miss. Suppan strikes him out. And the pitch from Suppan down and away, ball 1. They swept San Diego in the first round of the playoffs, but a lot of people looked at that as well. You know, San Diego was a 500 team, basically, game above, and didn't have a great year, but still made the playoffs. Others said, well, the Cardinals are back on track as Lane takes a strike, 1-1. You win 100 games when you're without Rowland and Walker and Sanders and others for significant chunks of the season. You've got a heck of a baseball team. The 1-1 and a swing and a foul off out of play right side, 1-2.
And Tony, you know, he keeps pushing players, and that's one of the reasons they do so well. But on the other side of the coin, sometimes you wonder if sometimes that little extra shove puts some guys over the edge.
1-0 Cardinals lead in the bottom of the 4th. The Astros lead the series 2-1. 1 out, nobody on, and a 1-2 pitch upcoming to right fielder Jason Lane. Here it comes. And a fastball hit deep left field, headed for the seats, and gone! Home run, Jason Lane into the Crawford boxes, and the Astros have tied it at 1.
Well, just like that, on one swing, the Astros accomplished what it took 28 pitches for the Cardinals to do in the top half of the 4th inning. That's got to be demoralizing. Jason Lane, as Suppan tried to come back inside, he hasn't been able to get it quite in far enough against Jason Lane, and he hit it up into the seats.
That's a Minute Maid home run right there as he hit it about 4 rows above the scoreboard in left field. The pitch was in and it was up, and Lane had to pull his arms way in, but a big strong guy like Pujols, he got enough of it to hit it out. Lane hit 26 home runs during the regular season. This game now tied at 1 as Brad Ausmus takes a strike.
He pulled his arms in like a guy that was reaching for a check.
No names now. 0-1 the count on Ausmus, who struck out back in the 2nd.
Pulled his arms in like a wide receiver going over the middle when he hears the strong safety coming.
That is the 2nd career postseason home run for Jason Lane. Here's a pitch inside to Ausmus, a ball and a strike. He hit a home run in the first playoff game he ever played in last year in the division series against Atlanta. They measured it at 341 feet.
Well, the Astros hit 98 homers at home this year and only 68 on the road.
Here's the 1-1 to Ausmus. A slider down and away in the dirt, ball 2. If you can pull it to left, or if you're a left-handed hitter, if you can hit it the other way to left, it's a great home run park. But if you hit it anywhere between the alleys, it's a terrible home run park. It's 315 down the left field line. It's 436 to straightaway center.
So far, I can't read the sign out there.
The 2-1, a check swing, and he did not go. 3 balls and a strike. They'll appeal and now confirm that he didn't go. I know you had it at 438.
Yeah, well, these eyes aren't quite as young as they used to be.
It is a long way with a hill and a flagpole mixed in just for a little added excitement. Well, the Astro fans are feeling some excitement right now after that home run by Jason Lane. It's tied at 1 in the bottom of the 4th. 1 out, nobody on. 3-1 on Ausmus. Everett's out on deck. Wandy Rodriguez still standing on the mound out in the Astro pen. The 3-1 there for a strike. Full count on Ausmus.
Sal Smith, one of the architects of this organization, wanted to put a little flavor of some of the old ballparks. Crosley Field, way back prior to 1970 in Cincinnati, used to have a hill you had to run up in left field. So I guess that's where he got the idea from, where they have that hill out in center field that's in play.
And a flagpole on the hill in play in front of the fence just to the left of straightaway center field.
Like Detroit. And I think Yankee Stadium at one time the flagpole was in the field of play.
The 3-2 to Ausmus, and he fouls it off down the right field line. Lots of nooks and crannies as there are in a lot of the new ballparks. One of the toughest spots is out in left center. At the end of the scoreboard, it starts right at the left field foul line, and where the scoreboard ends in left center, then the wall juts out almost parallel to the left field foul line. And as an outfielder, you can get some crazy bounces out there, not knowing to play it off the wall or if it'll be to the right of the scoreboard out to deeper left center. The 3-2 is swung on and fouled back into the screen.
Might be a good idea in the clubhouse to have a pool table so you get used to playing caroms and seeing how balls react.
I like it. I think this is one of the nicer new ballparks.
It is.
It's got a lot of character.
Yep.
And again, they've got the roof closed yesterday, today, and we'll have again tomorrow night to try to make it even noisier in here.
Starting to develop the area around the ballpark. Bustling after the game last night.
Again, the 3-2, and he went around, Ausmus did, at a slider in the dirt, and he strikes out for the second out of the inning.
Well, normally it's pretty important to turn the lineup over in the National League Park. Adam Everett, the 8th place hitter, but Brandon Backe had as good a bat as any of the hitters. So up comes Everett, and Backe comes out to the on-deck circle.
And again, Wandy Rodriguez was throwing earlier. I think he has now just stepped off the mound to sit down. Everett grounded out his first time up. We're tied at 1 in the bottom of the 4th as Suppan's first pitch bounces in, ball 1. Game 5 tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time broadcast start right here on ESPN Radio. Chris Carpenter against Andy Pettitte. And then Game 6, if necessary, back in St. Louis on Wednesday. Game 7, if necessary, would be Thursday night, also in St. Louis. Suppan into his windup. And the 1-0 at the knees for a strike. 1-1. Give both of these pitchers credit for taking advantage of what umpire Phil Cuzzi has given them. He is giving them low strikes. He is giving them the outside corner and then some. And so they have taken notice of that, and that's where they're trying to work right now. They're doing it with good success. The 1-1 to Everett, and a breaking ball grounded out to short to his right. Eckstein up with it and on to first to get Everett by a step and end the inning. But a home run by Jason Lane ties the game at 1 through 4. Bottom third of the order, Molina, Grzelcyk, and Suppan coming up in the 5th against Brandon Backe. Molina grounded out to short his first time up, 4 for 12 here in the LCS. The pitch from Backe, the fastball swung and grounded out to short, backhanded by Everett. Long throw to first, pulls Lamb off the bag, and now he's going to chase Molina into foul territory and put the tag on him as Molina was trying to circle around and come in through the back door. 6-3 on the putout, 1 down.
Yeah, pretty good job by Molina, though. When you hit a routine grounder, all you think about running down to first base, especially if you're not a fast runner, is I'm going to watch that first baseman. If he comes off, I'm going to try to avoid the tag. He did, but then he couldn't get back to the bag before Lamb came and got him.
Yeah, well, Molina made a good decision, but slowing down, putting the brakes on and going the other direction doesn't appear to be his specialty, but he made a good effort at it nonetheless. Here's Mark Grzelcyk, and he will look at a strike.
He needed to do the old Harlem Globetrotter thing, point up in the air to see if Lamb would look up and then dive into first base.
Grzelcyk grounded out his first time up, now 1 for 13 in the NLCS. Backing up at third now is Ensberg. And the 0-1 pitch, fastball at the knees, 0-2, and I know you've said it before, and I know you went through it as a hitter because you've talked about it. When you're struggling, it seems it's 0-2 before you step in.
Yeah, and Grzelcyk knows he's not seeing the ball right now. And, boy, you keep thinking, what can I do to do it? But it's just something you go through, and you never know when you're going to come out.
The 0-2, he's jammed, hits a soft liner out to second. It drops right in front of Biggio. It plays it on a hop on to first. Grzelcyk retired 2 down.
It's just one of those things. Grzelcyk, just before the All-Star game this year, went through a 13 for 80. Took some extra batting practice during the break, came out on fire in the second half. But over the course of the year, you're going to have a couple of times where you're just not seeing the ball. If not, then a couple of guys would hit about 450 every year. But he's just not seeing it well right now.
2 outs, nobody on. Here is Suppan at a fly ball to center his first time up, and he'll look at a fastball in for a strike.
Johnny Bench's great line, a slump. It's like a soft bed, easy to get into and hard to get out of.
Well, Tony La Russa sensing or realizing that Grzelcyk not seeing the ball very well, dropped him from 6th in the order to 8th in the order today. Here's the 0-1 to Suppan, and a curveball, a good one from Backe. Buckles Suppan a little bit as he takes strike 2.
And Backe needs a good inning because he was out there for 28 long pitches in the fourth.
Got into it again, the 0-2, and a swing and a miss and a slider down and away. And Backe makes quick work of the Cardinals in the 5th. One of 4 consecutive Bs who may come up this inning for the Astros. He'll lead it off against Suppan, who misses low ball 1. Backe was all pumped up after making quick work of the Cardinals in the top of the 5th. Sprinted off the field. Now he leads off the bottom of the 5th in a 1-1 tie. Grounded out his first time up. The 1-0, a fastball high from Suppan, ball 2. Remember, Backe is a good hitter. Drafted as a second baseman by Tampa Bay a few years back. And in his 2-year major league career, 2+, he is a .246 career hitter. Had 4 extra base hits this year as well. Suppan winds and works, and the 2-0 fastball over the outside corner for a strike, 2-1.
Backe doesn't even blink because he knows he's been getting that pitch as well.
And again, both pitchers exploiting that outside corner, really using it to their advantage. Biggio warming up on deck. The 2-1. Big swing and a miss, 2-2. That's the second hardest swing we've seen today. And Backe also had the hardest swing and a miss back in his at-bat in the 3rd inning.
You get an idea, if he connected, he'd hit it halfway up that back wall, but he hasn't been able to connect on the pitches up in the zone.
He bats from the right side. Suppan looking into Molina. Nods in agreement with his catcher. And the 2-2, and it's a fastball inside corner, strike 3 called. Backe strikes out. Suppan not coming in on the right-handers much, but he did it at a good time right there.
Yeah, Backe was definitely looking away, and Suppan nailed the inside corner about thigh high.
5th strikeout of the afternoon for Suppan. Back to the top of the order for the always popular Craig Biggio. 0 for 2 today with a couple of groundouts, 4 for 14 in the series.
Yep. One thing Suppan has to be careful of here is middle in. Biggio has really become a middle in hitter, especially here at Minute Maid.
Mabry a step behind the bag at third as Suppan delivers a strike over the outside corner. Mabry also maybe a step over toward the line at third. Eckstein a little bit into the hole. Grzelcyk shading towards second, and Pujols well off the line at first. The outfielders also play Biggio to pull. What little sunlight we get through the windows here in the ballpark is now in shallow right and right center. Shouldn't be that much of a factor. The 0 on a check swing and a ball inside. It's 1-1.
Came in well off the plate that time to Craig. You figure he's going back out away. They try to get Biggio out down and away. He has a propensity to chase that slider.
He did hit 26 home runs this year. Hit 264 on the season. Here's the 1-1. And it's in the dirt, ball 2 right through the legs of Molina to the backstop. Biggio enjoying the late stage of his career from another perspective. His sons are now old enough that they can really enjoy it. And they've got the run of the ballpark at times. They're in the clubhouse. They're on the field. And they're old enough to really understand and appreciate that Dad's got a pretty cool job. The 2-1, a slider down and away, ball 3.
Still think if Suppan throws a fastball here, he's going to throw it to the outside part and make Biggio try to beat him out towards Jim Edmonds. I don't think he's going to leave anything middle in.
1-1 tie in the bottom of the 5th. Biggio batting with a 1 out, nobody on. Chris Burke on deck. Thousands and thousands of fans again waving the hankies or the towels that they passed out again here today. The 3-1 is down and away, ball 4. Biggio draws the walk. That's the 3rd given up by Suppan today.
Well, at one time, Craig was a big-time threat to steal in this situation. Not so much anymore. 11 out of 12 this year.
Burke looking down to 3rd. Doug Mansolino flashing the signs. Hit and run would also be a possibility here. Burke has flied out and walked.
Not a bad call because Burke, pretty good contact hitter. Of course, that could be a guessing game with Tony La Russa. So when Edmonds hit and ran, it was on the first pitch. Let's see what Phil Garner might have in mind.
Mabry even with a bag at 3rd. Pujols holding on Biggio. The first pitch to Burke, a slow breaking ball that misses down and away, ball 1.
Yep. Pretty good time right here. Take a little bit of moxie for Tony La Russa to pitch out. 1 ball, no strikes. Burke having a long look down at Manzanillo, down at 3rd base.
Now these managers know each other and each other's tendencies very well. But it becomes a guessing game at some point. 1-0 the count. Suppan with the ball held behind his back. Now time called by home plate umpire Phil Cuzzi.
Wouldn't be surprised to see a throw over to first base here, as La Russa might want to get a look at what Biggio's doing.
Biggio extending out that lead. The pitch from Suppan is a breaking ball for a strike. 1-1. Albert Pujols, when he is holding on the runner, is not standing right on first. He does not have his right foot on first. He comes off the bag just by about 2 feet into fair territory, so he is near the bag but not right on the bag as he holds on Biggio. A pretty big hole on the right side again with the Grzelcyk shading up the middle. Eckstein a little bit into the hole. Mabry has now backed up at 3rd base. Berkman on one knee in the on-deck circle. A 1-1 count on Chris Burke. A 1-1 tie in the bottom of the 5th here in Game 4. Suppan gets his sign. Biggio the lead not going. And the pitch off speed and outside. Ball 2.
Well, all you amateur managers at home, when they tell you textbook hit and run count situation, contact hitter at the plate, 2 balls, 1 strike, decent speed at first base. Let's see if Phil Garner, who hadn't gone much by the book in this series, might put it on here.
Burke waving the bat back and forth, waiting for Suppan to get his sign from Molina. Biggio the lead at first, and a throw to first. Biggio back in, standing up.
That's the one La Russa wanted to see.
Yep.
Again, sometimes there's 2 different things you can do. You can throw over to first base a couple of times to see if that runner is giving anything away. Another thing you can do is you can tell your pitcher to come to the set position and just hold it. And hold it, then just back off the rubber. And sometimes that runner gets a little nervous tick over at first base.
The 2-1, the runner not going, and it's lined toward left field. Sanders stumbles a little as he comes over near the line, but he makes the catch. And Biggio has to get all the way back, and he just does, to first base, as he had gone almost all the way to second. And Sanders threw a 1-hop strike to first. Biggio diving back in head first, just ahead of the throw.
Well, what Craig was reading was Reggie Sanders stumbling around in left field. So all of a sudden he thought, gosh, he's not going to get there and make the play. He did. Got it back to first base. Albert Pujols tried to buy it or sell it by getting off the base and running towards the dugout, but the first base umpire not buying it.
You know what, Soup? I think the Astros caught a break. Sanders made a great throw, and it might have hit right on the lip. It hit on the grass just in front of the dirt, and it looked like it took a bit of a kangaroo hop up in the air. If it gets to Pujols a fraction of a second quicker, Biggio's out.
Yeah, I agree.
So 2 outs and Biggio at first, and now Lance Berkman comes up. He has grounded out and walked. 1-1 tie, bottom of the 5th, and the first pitch comes in low, ball 1 to Berkman, a dangerous hitter. 293, 24 home runs and 82 RBIs during the season.
And remember, he didn't start playing until May after the knee surgery, off-season accident when he was playing touch football.
Sanders showing no ill effects of the stumble out in left field. Remember the neck and back pain that kept him out of yesterday's game. The 1-0 to Berkman. He'll look at a strike. Not happily. Again, thought it was low, but that's, as you've mentioned on a couple of occasions, what Phil Cuzzy's been calling all day long. Back in, taps the plate once with his bat, and now Molina is going to jog out to the mound to talk to Suppan. And I think we got some bullpen activity right now for the Cardinals. Left-hander Ray King has started throwing for St. Louis.
Suppan still hitting pretty good spots, though. It's kind of interesting. Once he got behind Biggio, 2-1, he just, he might have been pitching Biggio different in this ballpark, because normally he would go after Craig, but once he got 2-1, he was either going to make that perfect down and away slider, or he wasn't going to mess with him. He's just, Jason Lane got his attention with that shot into the boxes out there in left field.
Suppan has thrown 91 pitches through 4 2/3. He's got a runner at first. A 1-1 tie and a 1-1 count on Lance Berkman with Morgan Ensberg on deck, and King throwing in the pen, presumably for Lamb, a couple of batters away if it gets that far. The 1-1 and a breaking ball misses outside, ball 2.
Well, Suppan hadn't pitched in 3 weeks, so from that standpoint, he ought to be strong. We don't know how much he's throwing on the side, certainly occasionally.
Suppan again bent at the waist with the ball in his bare hand behind his back as he looks into Molina for the sign. Now gets it. And the 2-1 to Berkman. A swing and a ball popped up on the left side of the infield. Mabry, the third baseman, who calls everybody off, comes in a couple of steps and makes the catch. That ends the inning. Eckstein has walked twice and scored once as he takes a first pitch breaking ball low, ball 1. We have all kinds of action out of the bullpens right now. Jason Marquis is throwing for the St. Louis Cardinals. Here's the 1-0 to Eckstein and a fastball into the knees for a strike, 1-1. And we saw Jeff Suppan getting handshakes in the Cardinal dugout. So Suppan looks like he's done, and that Marquis will be coming in. In the Houston bullpen, activity as well as Eckstein looks at another strike, 1-2. Left-hander Mike Gallo and one of the stars of yesterday's win for the Astros, right-hander Chad Qualls, starting to throw.
Figured Qualls would be a get-out-of-the-inning type guy today. He wouldn't have much length.
Here's the 1-2 to Eckstein. Did he go? Yes, he did. Chased a breaking ball outside. Phil Cuzzy says he went. Eckstein says, at least give me an appeal to first. And Cuzzy says, that's okay. I got it right here. Now Eckstein, also a guy who doesn't bark at umpires very much. He's upset with Cuzzy.
Well, Brandon Backe must have an extraordinary breaking ball today, because guys like Albert Pujols and David Eckstein have been chasing it out of the zone. They do not recognize it. 6
strikeouts now for Backe. And the batter will be Jim Edmonds, who grounded into a double play in the first and doubled to left in the fourth, setting up the only Cardinal run of the day. Here's the pitch from Backe, and a swing at a high fly ball down the left field line. 3 Astros are going out in foul territory. It will be Berkman who drops it as he and Ensberg almost collided, and Berkman in foul territory reached out to his right, and it popped in and out of his glove and dropped to the grass. Hit him right on the heel of the glove.
Well, a little bit distracted because Morgan Ensberg got in his sight line. He was kind of flashing before him, and Berkman just lost concentration on it. We'll see if that ends up costing the Astros. That's a play that should have been made. I don't know if they'll give him an error or not, but it's a play that should have been made.
So far, no sign that an error has been charged to Berkman. Crowd still mumbling and grumbling a little bit that they let a potential out get away. Berkman had to run a long way. He doesn't have a great knee, and truth be told, he's not a great outfielder. He's a bit of an adventure out there, and he had Ensberg racing out in his direction as well, but he didn't make the play. The 0-1 to Edmonds at the knees for a called strike, 0-2. Backe has allowed just 1 hit through 5 1/3. Remember, last year in Game 5, he threw 8 innings and allowed just 1 hit against these very same Cardinals. Here's the 0-2 to Edmonds, and it's strike 3 called inside corner. He ran a fastball back in over the corner, and now Edmonds, his eyes a little bit wide as he says something to Cuzzy and makes his way back to the third base dugout.
Well, Backe on a roll right now, but don't get that adrenaline going so much that you think you can overpower Albert Pujols right here.
Pujols a strikeout and a sac fly, driving in the only Cardinal run of the day. 1-1 in the 6th. And the pitch, a fastball just low, ball 1. Pujols, as we mentioned earlier, 4 hits in his career against Backe, now in 16 at-bats. All 4 of those hits are homers. Here's the 1-0, and it's in the dirt, ball 2. Walker on deck should the inning continue. Gallo and Qualls throwing in the Astros pen.
Backe treating Albert Pujols here with 2 outs and nobody on with the utmost respect, and rightfully so.
Deep and guarding the line at third is Ensberg. Here's the 2-0 to Pujols, and a swing and a ball line into left field, a base hit. Berkman coming over to his right. We'll cut it off before it gets to the warning track and hold Pujols to a single.
Yeah, and boy, I'll tell you, Brandon Backe talking to himself that he's fortunate that ball stayed in the ballpark. It was right in the middle of the plate. And Albert Pujols, we saw Albert not running very well to first base yesterday, and Phil Garner now wants the left-hander Mike Gallo. So Phil Garner evidently talking to Backe in between innings. Brandon must have told him he was a little bit weary. So Garner comes out to make the change.
And the crowd's not too enthused about this, as you may be able to hear. Runner at first for the Cardinals, 2 down. Walker has grounded out and walked. Gallo, a left-hander, 0-1 with a 2.66 ERA in 36 appearances, covering just 20 1/3 innings. Spent about half the year with a big club and about half the year at AAA Round Rock. 1-1 tie, and the pitch to Walker. A swing and a sharp ground ball, but right at the second baseman to Biggio. Do we need to play it? On to first, inning over. Gallo does his job. No runs, a base hit, a man left. To the bottom of the 6th in Houston in a 1-1 tie. Suppan out after 5, giving up a run on 3 hits. Backe gives up a run on 2 hits through 5 2/3 for the Astros. Morgan Ensberg leading off the 6th for Houston. And the first pitch for Marquis, a breaking ball, is low. Ball 1. The Cardinals telling us that when Marquis righted the ship, because he was a mess in the middle of the summer, he went back to the power sinker. Just threw sinker after sinker, got ground ball after ground ball. The 1-0 a fastball, and it's fouled back 1-1.
One of the reasons that Tony brought him in at this point, Lance Berkman made the last out. Lance Berkman, lifetime against Jason Marquis, is 10 for 17 with a homer. So Tony picked the exact spot to bring him in.
A 1-1 tie in the bottom of the 6th in Houston, and the pitch to Ensberg, a breaking ball in the dirt, 2 balls in his stride.
Well, Mike Gallo came in. That was probably wasn't the easiest decision for Phil Garner. I mean, Brandon Backe was throwing well. Yeah, he'd maybe lost a little stuff, but he was really locating his breaking pitches. But Gallo came in 1 pitch later, got out of the inning.
I wouldn't think we'd see Gallo again, but you never know. Here's the 2-1 to Ensberg, and a fastball is lined to left field. A base hit. Sanders will play it on a bounce, get it back into the infield, and Ensberg is aboard to lead off the 6th inning.
Well, Jason Marquis got to remember that power sinker as opposed to the power 4-seam fastball, because that's where he got in trouble last postseason when he came in. He tried to blow people away and left it up in the zone.
Marquis worked an inning in Game 2 back in St. Louis. Struck out a couple. That's his only postseason action this year. Pitched last year in the playoffs for the Cardinals and also with Atlanta back in 2001. Mike Lamb is the batter. A couple of strikeouts against Suppan. The pitch from Marquis, a swing and a fly ball, left center. Edmonds going over into the alley. He sets up underneath it and makes the catch. Bluffing a tag from first is Ensberg, drawing the throw, but it's a good throw from Edmonds, so Ensberg will retreat to first base.
Now, sometimes you're not quite sure in this ballpark when ball leaves the bat, but when Lamb took 3 steps towards first base and kind of swung the bat down, you knew he wasn't very happy with the contact he made.
Now Jason Lane, who singled in the 2nd and made enough contact in the 4th to hit it up in the Crawford boxes above the scoreboard and left for a home run. Although he looked like he got jammed on the pitch. 1-1 tie, bottom of the 6th. And the pitch from Marquis, down and away, ball 1. One of the things Tony La Russa said to Jason Marquis after Marquis aired his displeasure, he said, I understand you're upset, but you got to get your head around this or I can't use you. And they need him with Tavares struggling and Reyes blowing out his elbow the last week of the regular season. Marquis in the bullpen, yes, but still very important to the Cardinals. The 1-0, a check swing and a ball outside, ball 2.
Well, the Cardinals have a bunch of veterans down in their bullpen, and I think had Jason Marquis not come in to talk to Tony La Russa before La Russa summoned him, there would have been a committee of veterans to talk to Jason Marquis immediately. So the problem was squelched before it got too big, although La Russa was not happy. This is where you talked about Russ Springer and the all for one, the kind of the Three Musketeers philosophy down there for the Astros has really paid off this year for them. It's whoever can get the job done, we're rooting for you.
2-0 the count on Jason Lane. And the pitch from Marquis, a fastball taken high, ball 3. One of the few borderline pitches that went a hitter's way today. And this will be another test of Marquis' composure.
Yeah, let's see what Phil Garner might do with Jason Lane, who's already homered once with that inviting porch in left field.
Ensberg being held at first by Pujols. Ausmus on deck for the Astros. The 3-0, and it's there for a strike, 3-1.
Looks like Marquis threw a sinker or took something off that pitch.
Lane will step out and look down to Doug Mansolino with third. No signs coming from Mansolino. Ensberg led off the inning with a base hit, then a lamb flied out to left center. The Astros try to break the tie here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Marquis sets and deals, and he missed outside, ball 4. So Lane draws the walk, Ensberg to second, and here comes Ausmus. Again, the Astros, who have struggled terribly in this series with runners in scoring position, have another shot right here. The first pitch to Ausmus, in for a strike. Ausmus was up in this same situation in the 2nd inning. First and second, 1 out, and he struck out. He also struck out with nobody on base in the 4th.
Danny, we've mentioned this a few times through the series, but they've played 19 times this year. 18 of the games have been decided by 3 runs or less. There has been no working room against these two teams.
A look back by Marquis, and the 0-1 to Ausmus, a breaking ball fouled out of play right side, 0-2. And a fan in the first row of the upper deck with a glove booted it, and it dropped down into the lower deck, and he is hearing it from the folks around him now. 0-2 the count on Ausmus, who stepped out just for a moment. Everett on deck, and after that, the pitcher's spot. So there may be a Bagwell or a Vizcaíno sighting if this inning gets that far. Marquis sets, and now time is called before he delivers, and Eckstein is going to jog into the mound, and Molina's coming out from behind the plate.
You know, at this point, I just wonder if they think that, you know, maybe Ensberg was trying to give location. The 2 middle infielders, Grzelcyk comes in, so a powwow at the mound between Molina, Marquis, and Grzelcyk and David Eckstein.
Molina now back behind the plate as Marquis toes the rubber again. Ensberg the lead at second, Lane at first. Pujols down in a catcher's squat right now at first, waiting between pitches. Now back upright. Edmonds shading Ausmus toward right center. 0-2 the count on the Astro catcher. And the pitch, a fastball at the knees, strike 3 called, and Ausmus strikes out for the 3rd time today.
Well, Marquis made a great pitch.
Knee-high inside corner, not where Ausmus was looking at all. And now the batter will be Adam Everett, 0 for 2 on a couple of groundouts.
That's that good power sinker from Jason Marquis.
Suppan 5 innings for the Cardinals today. A run on 3 hits. Marquis on in the 6th. 2 on, 2 out, tie game. And the first pitch to Everett is high, ball 1.
Well, Gallo's giving one of those Missouri on-deck appearances there, the show me. He's not going to hit.
No.
The only way he might hit is if Adam Everett hit a 3-run homer.
Everett awaiting the count in his favor at 1-0 as Molina now starts flashing the signs to Marquis. He liked the first one he saw. Checks the runner back at second. And the pitch, a swing and a foul back, 1-1. He challenged him with a fastball. 93 miles an hour from Marquis with some movement in on the hands of the right-handed hitters as now Molina steps out from behind the plate and says something to Marquis as Marquis hits back up on top of the mound.
And if it goes to the 9th spot in the order, Bagwell's got the best numbers against Marquis, 9 for 21. Of course, a lot of those were when Bagwell wasn't recovering from shoulder surgery.
1-1 tie in the bottom of the 6th. 2 on, 2 out for the Astros. Marquis sets and fires, and a swing and a weak ground ball hit to short. Eckstein has it, has to play it across to first, and they'll get Everett by a step. And out of the Astro pen comes right hitter Chad Qualls. Reggie Sanders will be the first hitter this inning for the Cardinals. Sanders 0 for 2 on strikeouts today. Qualls sets and deals, and a slider is swung on and missed 0-1. Qualls was a key in the Astro win yesterday. Worked the 7th and 8th. Faced 6 batters, got them all. Struck out 3 through 32 pitches, and his stuff was as good as it's been all year, in the words of pitching coach Jim Hickey and manager Phil Garner. Here's the 0-1 and a slider down and away. A ball and a strike. Qualls told me before the game, Soup, after the 7th, because generally he works the 7th and Wheeler the 8th. He went into the dugout and he saw Jim Hickey coming toward him, so Qualls extended his hand expecting the handshake. And Hickey said, "Not so fast, cowboy. You might go back out there. You're throwing the ball so well." So he went out for the 8th and threw the ball just as well in his 2nd inning. 1-1 the count on Sanders. And the pitch, a swing and a high fly ball to left field. Berkman coming over near the seats, and this ball will be back out of play. 1-2. Now, interestingly, he has thrown 3 sliders in his first 3 pitches today. In his 32 pitches yesterday, he estimated he only threw 3 sliders, and the rest were sinkers.
Well, he had that turbo sinker yesterday. Maybe in the bullpen after 32 pitches and a lot of adrenaline yesterday, maybe he didn't have as good a sinker. We're going to keep an eye on that as the inning progresses. But that was up in home run territory, that slider.
Sanders broke his bat, so he's got a new one from the dugout. A 1-2 count. A 1-1 tie in the 7th. Sanders, Mabry, and Molina. The hitters due up this inning for the Cardinals. Qualls sets and deals, and a swing at a ground ball foul back to the screen. That was the sinker. It was a high sinker, but it was that sinker that runs in on the hands of the righties. Phil Garner told us before the game what made it so special for Qualls yesterday. Not only was it running in, but it was also really moving down at the same time.
Well, the high sinker will produce a ground ball as well, but as the late Dan Quisenberry said, sometimes that first hop is about 370 feet away.
1-2 the count. Qualls sets. And again the pitch to Sanders, and another high sinker, and this one is popped up on the right side of the infield. Biggio, the second baseman, taking charge over near Lamb, the first baseman. Biggio makes the catch, 1 down.
Well, not locating exactly where he wants to, but still has got enough steam on it.
Soup, we've got our question of the game for you now, brought to you by Equifax. Get your credit score and credit report now. Visit Equifax.com or call 1-800-4-EQUIFAX. Our question today comes from Doug Bem from Arnold, Maryland, who wants to know, with all the injuries the Cardinals have suffered with in the playoffs, is it unfair that teams cannot place a player on the DL during the playoffs? John Mabry, the batter, and he fouls one off at the plate, 0-1, and call up a replacement. Let's say Nunez is seriously hurt, which they don't believe he is, but if he were seriously hurt, should the Cardinals be able to put him on the DL and call up another player immediately in the middle of a playoff series?
Well, the way that the rules state is the answer is no. What they can do is if they advance to the World Series, then they can change the roster at that point.
The 0-1, and Mabry bounces one out to second. 2 hopper to Biggio. Throw to first, 2 down.
They're just afraid too many people might be faking injuries to get additional players on the roster. So,
well, a starting pitcher, say, pitches game 4, and you're not going to need him again, and all of a sudden you say he's got a bad back, and you call up a new guy. So,
rub of the draw.
Yeah.
But again, if the Cardinals advance to the World Series, or the Astros, for that fact, you can readjust your roster as long as that player was in the major leagues by the 1st of September, or if you had an injury and somebody in your own organization comes up.
2 outs, nobody on, tied at 1 in the 7th as Yadier Molina takes low. A lot of talk in Chicago that Orlando Hernandez, that his shoulder is barking again, and should the White Sox advance to the World Series, that he would not be on the roster, and that Brandon McCarthy would be added onto the White Sox roster.
Well, Duque earned his spurs in Boston.
Yep. 1-0 the count on Molina. And the pitch, a swing at a ground ball to Biggio again, this time coming to his left. A throw to first, and the inning is over.
Yeah, I think maybe if the bases were loaded last inning, then he would have gone for Bagwell because the base hit would have been fine, and he had those good numbers against Marquis.
Palmeiro hit .284 during the season as he looks at a strike from Marquis. 1 run, 2 hits, 3 men left on for the Cardinals. 1 run on 4 hits, and 7 men left on for the Astros. Biggio on deck. After him, it's Burke. Here's the 0-1 from Marquis, and it's inside, a ball and a strike. Mabry is in at third. Now he might back up even with the bag. He was a couple of steps inside the bag. Pujols is deep at first. Outfielders straight away. Palmeiro, a left-handed hitter, chokes up on the bat. Not a power guy. Sprays the ball around. 1-1 the count. Marquis into his windup, and the pitch way inside, knee high, ball 2.
Well, fans booing, but there's no way that Jason Marquis is trying to hit the leadoff hitter in a tie game.
So with Palmeiro pinch hitting for Qualls, the Astros will need a new pitcher next half inning. Presumably Dan Wheeler. We'll wait and see. The 2-1, and it's a fastball outside. 3 balls and a strike. Marquis did a bit of a double take, but it did appear to be outside. The crowd sensing a moment here as Palmeiro might reach the leadoff man with a 3-1 count. And the pitch outside, ball 4. Well, the Astros have certainly had more opportunities today than the Cardinals have had. And, you know, you always say in this kind of a game, boy, if they don't take advantage of one of these soon, all the numbers will be skewed in their favor except the final score. They have got to start capitalizing.
Yeah, well, you figure sacrifice bunt's order here. So that's, again, but with Phil Garner, he hasn't gone by the book much in this series. No. I mean, he could play hit and run just as well, but more than likely, bunt is in order.
Greg Biggio, the batter, did have 4 sacrifices on the season. Hit .264 with 26 homers. 0 for 2 with a walk today. Palmeiro with decent speed being held by Pujols. And the pitch, Biggio pops the bunt up in foul territory up the first baseline, and it will drop untouched to the grass.
Well, Jason Marquis made the perfect pitch when a guy's bunting. Throw a ball tailing in right at the letters, and that was a good pitch by Jason Marquis.
The announced attendance today, 43,010, about 300 more than yesterday. Now the capacity crowd, they have no trouble catching baseball fever here in the month of October. 0-1 the count on Biggio. Mabry sneaking in at third. Biggio squares again, and he gets it down. First base side of the mound, and Marquis runs over the ball. He reached down with his glove, grazed it, but didn't come up with it, and everybody is safe.
Pitcher's fielding practice, first day of spring training. They work on it every day. Jason Marquis, for whatever reason, went to reach for the ball and looked up. I don't know if he thought he had a shot at Palmeiro at second, which he didn't, but he looked up on it. And the Astros getting themselves in business. Tony La Russa going to come out now, talk with Marquis. They're going to talk about how they plan on trying to defend what they expect will be a bunt from Chris Burke.
It goes as a sacrifice for Biggio and then an error on Marquis, allowing Biggio to reach. It was a good bunt, and Marquis is an athletic guy, generally fields his position well. He was just in too much of a rush.
Okay, Tony La Russa, I think, is telling his team here, take the out at first base, because Lance Berkman is 10 for 17 against Jason Marquis. Get the out at first, and we will walk Lance Berkman. So I don't think they're going to put any kind of a tricky wheel play on here.
Burke 0 for 2 with a walk so far today. He's had some big moments swinging the bat for the Astros this October. Will he be swinging? Will he be bunting? They are in on the corners expecting the bunt. He does square, and he bunts it foul, third base side. In limited at-bats, actually with 318 at-bats with the Astros this year, Burke had 9 sacrifices, so this is a role he is accustomed to.
Well, again, by sacrificing, you're going to lose the hottest hitter you have against Marquis, but still Phil Garner wants to get that go-ahead run 90 feet away.
And it would still be Ensberg, his cleanup hitter, coming up if it all goes according to plan. 0-1 the count. Crowd on its feet. Everybody standing in Houston. And the pitch as Burke squares, pulls the bat back, and he takes outside, a ball and a strike. Now, defensively, Pujols is charging. Grzelcyk is heading to first. And Eckstein has been stunting behind the runner at second and going to the bag on both of these plays.
Yeah, and Yadier Molina is trying to calm down Phil Cuzzi, because Marquis made a gesture at Cuzzi, and Cuzzi gave one right back to him. So there's some byplay going on right now. He thought that was a strike, did Marquis.
1-1 the count on Burke. Tie game in the bottom of the 7th. And the pitch, a swing and a foul back by Burke as Phil Garner changed the plan. And it's now 1-2.
Well, if Burke doesn't hit into a double play, I guess Phil feels, hey, worst case scenario, if Burke hits a fly ball out, you know, at least I get Berkman to hit against Marquis then with those big time numbers.
Even with now a 1-2 count, Pujols is still way in on the grass at first. Mabry has backed up a little, but he's still in front of the bag.
I don't think he's bunting.
1-2 the count. Pujols coming in even more, and the pitch swung on and fouled back. I agree with you, but even with a 1-2 count, the Cardinals, maybe under orders from Tony La Russa, are still anticipating a bunt.
Now they got to push Pujols back here.
He would not have much time at all to make a play if Burke hits a sharp ground ball to the right side. Pujols is still in on the grass. Mabry is now backed up one more step, even with a bag. First and second, nobody out. Here comes Pujols again. The 1-2, a check swing and a ball outside. 2-2. He did not square around.
Yeah, I do not understand this. I mean, you're talking about one of the great baseball minds around in Tony La Russa, and there's no way Chris Burke is bunting.
The inning began with a walk issued to the pinch hitter Orlando Palmeiro. Biggio got a bunt down, and Marquis muffed it. So it's first and second, nobody out. 2-2 to count on Burke. And the pitch from Marquis, a swing and a fly ball to left field, not that deep. Reggie Sanders now coming in 3 or 4 steps, makes the catch for the out, and the runners go back. So now Berkman will get a chance to swing the bat.
Well, again, the numbers are 10 for 17 against Jason Marquis with a homer. That's a .588 average. So what do you do if you're Tony La Russa? You got nobody else warming in the bullpen. So no other option here. I guess you can tell Marquis pitch carefully to him, but still.
Another meeting on the mound for the Cardinals. Everybody except Mabry in on the conversation. A 1-1 tie in the bottom of the 7th inning. Again, remember all the opportunities that the Astros have had today. First and second, 1 out in the second, they didn't score. 2 on with 2 out in the third, they didn't score. A 1-out walk in the 5th, didn't score. First and second in the 6th, didn't score. Now first and second, nobody out in the 7th. Burke flies out, and now here's Berkman. The pitch from Marquis is low, ball 1.
Well, the decision for Gardner was like the soliloquy from Hamlet, to borrow a little bit of a paraphrase. To bunt or not to bunt, that was the question. He elected not to after Burke fouled one off.
I've got the Astros at 0 for 6 today with runners in scoring position.
Yeah, that gives them a grand total of 2 for 29 in the series.
Yet they lead the series. The 1-0, and it's upstairs. Ball 2 to Berkman. Ensberg is on deck. And this is Marquis' inning. There is nobody throwing in that Cardinal bullpen. All the fans, most of the fans, sat down after the Burke at bat. A few of them still standing down the right field side and out in the outfield seats. Now pitch by pitch, some of them starting to stand again, waving the towels around. The 2-0 is inside. Ball 3.
Well, if he ends up walking Berkman, it'll pretty much be the net effect if Chris Burke would have gotten the bunt down, because they would have walked Berkman in a heartbeat.
Berkman stepped out for a moment, taps the plate on his way back into the batter's box. Marquis toes the rubber and looks into Molina. 1-1 tie, bottom of the 7th, 2 on, 1 out. And the 3-0 pitch up and in, ball 4. The bases are loaded. And the cleanup hitter, Morgan Ensberg, is coming up.
Well, Ensberg's had some pretty good numbers against Marquis, including that line drive single last time around.
And now Phil Cuzzi and Tony La Russa are going at it, and Tony La Russa just got thrown out of the game. How they could hear one another from the dugout is beyond me, but Cuzzi heard something that La Russa said, and he just threw Tony La Russa out of the game. And this has been building from the very first inning today with the strike zone.
Yep. It has been. It's been pretty much the same for both sides, but right now Tim McClellan, the crew chief, in trying to calm La Russa down, but Tony hearing none of it.
This is about as angry as I've ever seen Tony La Russa. He really turned on Tim McClellan, who's the crew chief, who came down from third to get in the middle of La Russa and Cuzzi. I don't know that Cuzzi has had an inconsistent strike zone, with a couple of exceptions. He has had a big strike zone, but La Russa just finally had enough in that at bat. I don't think any of the pitches to Berkman were strikes, but there have been a lot of borderline pitches all day long, and La Russa and Cuzzi have been barking at one another for at least 5 or 6 innings.
Well, this also could go back to yesterday when Tony La Russa issued an admonition, and he's going to go after Cuzzi again.
Wow, he's still trying to get at Cuzzi. And McClellan is bobbing and weaving in between them, trying to keep La Russa away from the home plate umpire.
Yesterday, Tony, in his press conference before the game, said to the media, "I worry about Wally Bell, the home plate umpire, getting caught up in the emotion about Roger Clemens and the fans and maybe widening that strike zone. And I don't think the umpires of the group took that real kindly.
Boy, La Russa's got a wild look in his eyes right now. He may be just as furious that he got thrown out as for the reason that he was upset all day, the strike zone. We won't know until we hear his comments after the game. But La Russa is getting his money's worth out of this one. Now, finally, he's going to give up the fight and head off the field to a chorus of boos.
Well, this is what a great crew chief does. Tim McClellan has as much respect as any umpire in the business, and he came in, and La Russa had his say with Cuzzy, but at that point, McClellan came in, and he said enough. He was the third base umpire, and now I'm not sure what's going on. Phil Garner's talking to Cuzzy about something, and I'm not sure what's going on now.
Right now, the Astros have the bases loaded with 1 out and a 1-1 tie in the bottom of the 7th. Tony La Russa has just been ejected by home plate umpire Phil Cuzzy. And now Phil Garner is talking to a trio of umpires.
I just wonder if Garner's out there trying to ice Jason Marquis a little bit.
La Russa now finally making his way down the steps, out of sight. Garner is heading back to the first base dugout. The umpires are heading back to their positions. And Morgan Ensberg will be coming up to try to put the Astros ahead. And we're going to have a pinch runner at third base for the Astros. Willie Taveras, one of the fastest people in baseball, is going to run for Orlando Palmeiro in case Ensberg hits a shallow fly ball.
Well, the wheels are turning. Going to be, when they get all done spinning, though, the bottom line is it's going to be Jason Marquis versus Morgan Ensberg.
Again, the Astros with chance after chance to take the lead today to really get the big hit and blow this one open. Now Morgan Ensberg, the batter. 1-1 tie, bottom of the 7th. And the pitch, a slider down and away, ball 1. Marquis drops the return throw from Yadier Molina and immediately looks over at Taveras at third, but the ball dropped right by his feet. The Angels lost a ball game to the A's during the regular season on that kind of a play. Taveras, a Rookie of the Year candidate, not starting the last 2 days. Incredibly fast, though. The 1-0 and a swing and a high fly ball to right center field. Edmonds wants it. Edmonds setting up to make the catch. Here comes Taveras. Here comes the throw, not in time. Sliding in safely, Taveras with the go-ahead run. The other runners hold. 2-1 Astros.
A little bit of a mistake there, I think, by Biggio with that airmail throw. I'm going to figure to appeal at third base. We're going to see, yeah, Jason Marquis wants to appeal over at third, so let's see what happens here.
And he's okay. He didn't lead too early, says Tim McClellan.
Well, Phil Garner just seems to be pushing right button after right button. He got criticized for pinch running against Atlanta in a game that went 18 innings, but by pinch running Willie Taveras there, he gets that extra speed jump to score that run.
Edmonds made a pretty strong throw. A good slide by Taveras, sliding around Molina and getting his left hand on the plate. Mike Lamb, the batter now, and he has popped it up into shallow left. Eckstein going out, called off by Sanders. Sanders makes the catch, and the inning is over. But the Astros have pushed across the go-ahead run. Mark Reselanek leads off the 8th for the Cardinals against Wheeler, a big right-hander, and Wheeler stalks him with a strike. Wheeler 2-3 with a 2.21 ERA in 71 appearances this season. Only 53 hits in 73 1/3 innings. Qualls went 2 yesterday, so Wheeler didn't pitch. Qualls went 1 today. Now Wheeler on in the 8th. Reselanek is 0 for 2, and the 0-1, a ball sliced into right field. That is a base hit. Mark Reselanek snaps an 0 for 13 streak here in this series as he lines the ball to right field, and now the throw got by a couple of infielders and backs up over at third by Ensberg. Otherwise, Reselanek was thinking about heading to second, but he'll be content with a leadoff single. And now Jason Marquis, the pitcher, but arguably the best hitting pitcher in baseball, is going to hit for himself here. A run down in the 8th inning.
Yep. And how do the Cardinals play it? Do they have him bunt? Do they trust that he is that good a hitter and let him go? We'll see. You usually play to take the lead on the road, but right now it looks like maybe he might square around.
Marquis hit .310 on the season. Righty against lefty. Marquis does square, and he pops a bunt up foul on the first base side. Not only did Marquis hit .310, he had 8 doubles. 8 doubles, a triple and a homer this year. Also a couple of sacrifices.
I thought maybe Brad Lidge might start light tossing in the bullpen in case it got down to Albert Pujols here. Lidge threw 20 pitches yesterday. I know Garner doesn't want to use him until the ninth, but if Albert Pujols comes up with a couple of guys on base, we've got to just wonder, would he let Wheeler face him? And as I say that, I think somebody got up out there.
Jose Oquendo, the third base coach, came all the way down to the plate to talk to Marquis, who has already squared nice and early. Now, he may pull the bat back, but he has squared around as Wheeler gets a sign. Now he straightens up. Now he squares again. And Wheeler's pitch is popped up. The bunt is popped up, caught by Ausmus. Marquis retired, one down.
Well, Ausmus came charging out, almost overran it, so failure to execute fundamentally, and now we're going to find out what kind of gambler the Cardinals are, because David Eckstein is an outstanding hit-and-run guy, and sometimes you do that after you fail on the sacrifice.
Eckstein has walked twice and struck out, 2 for 12 in the series as he looks down to Jose Oquendo. Tony La Russa, remember, has been ejected from the game. Now, whether he's up in the clubhouse hollering to somebody in the tunnel, hollering to somebody in the dugout, signaling to somebody on the field, that's usually the way it works.
Well, yeah, Tony's running the game.
Yeah.
Wherever he is, he's running the game, I guarantee you.
2-1 Houston, 8th inning. And the pitch from Wheeler. Eckstein checks his swing, and he takes a strike. It is Brad Lidge up in the pen right now for the Astros. Got the save yesterday.
Yeah, if it gets to Albert Pujols in the inning and the Astros still have the lead, I don't think you can not bring him in.
Another low-scoring, close, entertaining ball game here between the Cardinals and Astros. Throw to first and diving back in Grzelcyk.
Got to be alive for a couple of things here from Eckstein. Possibility of a hit and run. Not above not dragging a bunt down the third base line to try to beat it out for a base hit.
An 0-1 count on Eckstein as Wheeler sets. Runner not going, and the pitch, a swing and a miss, 0-2. Soup, the bullpen for the Astros in the postseason this year, has allowed only 6 earned runs in 29 innings, including that great game against Atlanta, the 18-inning game, where the bullpen worked 13 2/3 and gave up only 1 run. It's not just Lidge and a bunch of other guys. Wheeler and Qualls and Gallo and Springer have all done their job. 0-2 the count on Eckstein. And the pitch, a swing and a foul off over the first base dugout, out of play.
Wheeler left that breaking ball in a hittable zone. Too good a pitch to David Eckstein right there.
Last year at this time, Dan Wheeler was thinking about his sister's wedding, which was due to take place on the Saturday of Game 6 of the World Series. Plus, his wife was imminently due with the couple's first child. He says, relatively speaking, I'm free and easy right now. I got nothing to worry about. All he has to worry about is the St. Louis Cardinals. Steps off and he throws over to first, and diving back in is Grzelcyk. 2-1 Houston leads the game. 2-1 Houston leads the series. Chris Carpenter against Andy Pettitte tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern, here on ESPN Radio. Wheeler has his sign. And the 0-2 to Eckstein, a swing and a little squibber foul on the first base side, will wind up over near the Astro dugout.
Well, again, another breaking ball to hit. Wheeler's got to get the ball down in the zone. David Eckstein's not going to miss too many of those up in his wheelhouse like that.
Jim Edmonds is on deck for the Cardinals. Brandon Backe went 5 2/3, gave up 1 earned run on just 2 hits. He struck out 7. Mike Gallo got the 1 batter he faced. Chad Qualls, a 1-2-3-7. Grzelcyk led off the 8th with a base hit off Wheeler. Marquis popped up a bunt attempt. Another throw to first, and again Grzelcyk back in. One run, 3 hits, 1 error for the Cardinals, 2 runs, 4 hits, no errors for the Astros. Most of the fans, just about everybody except the folks with the real good seats behind the plate, standing right now. The 0-2 is fought off and fouled out of play right side by Eckstein. He can wear you out.
Yep, Wheeler's just got to get the ball down on the ground, let David hit a ground ball at somebody. You get it up in the air to him, you elevate the ball to Eckstein, he's going to play a little peppers with a 1 hop out to right center field.
Severus playing Eckstein away over to right center. Ensberg deep at third, guarding the line. Berkman holding on to Grzelcyk at first. Middle infielders to double play depth. Wheeler sets. And the 0-2, a swing and a fly ball into left center field. Burke racing over. He is there to make the catch for the second out. Back to first goes Grzelcyk.
Well, Phil Garner rolled the dice with his left-hander Gallo back in the 6th inning to come in and get Larry Walker out. He does have Wandy Rodriguez, another left-hander, but he has not been throwing since early in the game, so it's going to be up to Wheeler to see if he can get Edmonds. And if he can keep him in the ballpark, one way or the other, we're going to see Lidge.
Edmonds 1 for 3 today. He doubled to left in the 4th. 1 for 7 with 3 strikeouts in his career against the big right-hander Dan Wheeler. Next of the Mets and the Devil Rays. 2-1 Houston, 8th inning. Runner at first, 2 down, and the first pitch is in for a called strike. 0-1. The Astros, remember a team, they have been to the postseason a lot, 6 times. Now in the last 9 years, they have never in franchise history been to the World Series. They're looking for a 3-1 series lead with a win here today. Here's the 0-1 to Edmonds, and a check swing and a ball low. It's 1-1.
Astros playing the no doubles defense. Tavares is way out in center. Burke deep in left, Lane deep in right. They want to cut balls off in the alley to keep Grzelcyk from scoring. So it's kind of a modified no doubles defense, but one that won't allow Grzelcyk to score.
Lidge looks ready out in the pen. 1-1 the count on Edmonds. Pujols on deck. Wheeler sets, and he deals, and he's up and in with a fastball that Edmonds spins out of the batter's box. Wound up almost tumbling backwards, losing his balance and backpedaling about 30 feet over toward the first base dugout. 2 balls and a strike now on Jim Edmonds.
Classic postseason baseball. Nail biter. Every pitch so important right now.
Everett, the shortstop, shading over toward the bag at second. Biggio well over to his left to help eat up some of that hole that's been created with a Berkman holding on to Grzelcyk. 2-1 Houston leads. Top of the 8th, 2 down. And a 2-1 count on Edmonds. Wheeler ready. He deals, and Edmonds takes it low. Ball 3.
No. Critical pitch here. Edmonds is going to try to guess in or out, look for a ball to really drive here. Again, he's got the ability to hit the ball into those seats in left field, so you can't just say I'm going to keep a ball away from him. If you elevate it, he may pop it out there.
Lidge throws one more pitch down in the bullpen, knowing he, in all likelihood, is going to come in if Wheeler loses Edmonds. 3-1 the count. And the pitch, and it is a strike taken, full count, as Edmonds tried to check his swing and I think succeeded, but it was a called strike. Edmonds again bailed out of the box, feeling the ball was inside, and I think Edmonds just got tossed out of the game.
Well, he must have really said something, because Phil Cuzzy, that's a very tough throw out of the game there when you've got a star player at the plate. So unless Edmonds uttered the magic words, we got an issue. Remember I said before the game about how the umpires had a pretty good series here? Take that back.
Yeah, Phil Cuzzy has had a rough afternoon behind the plate. According to Cuzzy's hand gesture, that was a called strike, not a swinging strike. I'm not sure Edmonds checked his swing, but I'm pretty positive that ball was not in the strike zone. It looked up and in, and the vast majority of the borderline calls, and there have been many today, have gone against the St. Louis Cardinals. So now La Russa's out of the game, Edmonds is out of the game, and they're going to have to send a pinch hitter up there with a full count.
Well, you figure it might be John Rodriguez. Well, you talk about having to come in off the bench cold and pressure on you, but 3 balls and 2 strikes. I don't know exactly what Edmonds said, but if you say the magic words, I guess I don't care what the situation is. If it's you are something, you can say that's a bleep bleep call, but if you say you are something something, and if Edmonds said that, that usually means an automatic ejection.
Well, Edmonds is still getting his money's worth as Reggie Sanders is trying to physically take him down the steps to get him out of there. Edmonds is ejected. And again, Edmonds, it was a called strike. And Edmonds started his swing, tried to check it, and then bailed out. He backed out of there, and he could not believe that the pitch was called a strike. And Cuzzy throws him out. So the Cardinals, just imagine what Tony La Russa must be thinking as he sits in the clubhouse, already ejected from the game, when he just watched probably his second best hitter get thrown out. And it will be John Rodriguez inheriting a 3-2 count.
The only thing that was interesting about it, I mean, the way Edmonds approached the ball, and he was looking away, was that, I mean, it looked like it was almost going to hit him, but Osmus never moved the glove. Osmus evidently thought it was a strike.
So a 2-1 Houston lead. A full count now on John Rodriguez. Berkman is backed up behind the runner, Grzelcyk at first, who will be on the move on the full count pitch. 8th inning. Grzelcyk way off first base. Wheeler sets. There goes the runner, and the pitch to Rodriguez is popped up and back out of play. How tough of a role is this for Rodriguez right now?
Well, son, welcome to the National League Championship Series. It's 3 balls and 2 strikes.
Well, if he can get a hold of one. Folks in St. Louis, their grandchildren's grandchildren will be talking about him, but he is in a very tough spot right now. Lidge is ready in the pen. Pujols is on deck. What drama here in Houston. 2-1 the Astros lead in the 8th. Wheeler sets. There goes Grzelcyk, and the pitch, a swing and a foul back again. It was a breaking ball, and it was a bit up as Rodriguez fouled it back over the screen into the seats behind the plate.
Well, Wheeler's gotten away with some pitches in the inning. He left a couple up to David Eckstein, and he left that one up. I guess it's better to leave him up to those guys than somebody like Pujols.
Boy, I don't know what Edmonds said, but to throw out a guy in the 8th inning of a playoff game with a full count and a 1-run game, wow. You don't see that very often, to say the least. Wheeler ready to go again. And the 3-2, a swing and a fly ball, center field deep. Taveras racing it back to left center, up the hill. He made the catch. He made the catch on the hill. Just when you think you've seen everything, Willie Taveras climbs the hill. What a game here at Minute Maid today. The 1-0 to Lane, swing at a ground ball. A diving stop by Eckstein. Back to his feet and on to first for the out to get Lane. 1 down. All we had, for those of you who may have stepped out of the car for a moment, is one other move here. So Taguchi is on in center field. In the top of the 8th inning, Mark Grzelcyk led off with a base hit. And then Jason Marquis hit for himself but popped up a bunt attempt. David Eckstein flied out. Jim Edmonds on a 3-1 pitch spun out of the way, tried to check his swing, thought he took ball 4. It was called strike 2, not a swinging strike, a called strike. Here's Brad Ausmus, and he'll look at a strike. Edmonds, furious, started woofing at the umpire, Phil Cuzzy, who an inning earlier had ejected Tony La Russa. Cuzzy's now getting an earful from Brad Ausmus. I don't think I'm saying too much right now if I'm Brad Ausmus. You got the lead. You're getting the lion's share of the calls, some would say. The 0-1 down and away, a ball and a strike. Edmonds said something. As you said, either the magic word or some combination of the magic words. Well, and Edmonds with a 3-2 count on him. The go-ahead run at the plate in the 8th inning got tossed out. The 1-1, a swing and a ground ball to short. 3-hopper right at Eckstein. Up with it and on to first. 2 down. And then John Rodriguez comes in to pinch hit for Edmonds, inheriting a full count. Fouls off the first 2 pitches and then hits a rocket to center. And Willie Taveras, who had pinch run an inning earlier and stayed in the game in center field, one of the fastest men in baseball, needed all the horsepower he could muster, went straight back to the hill, went up on the hill, and caught the ball for about a 430-foot out. Adam Everett, the batter, and he'll take ball 1.
Phil Gardner's on a roll. Managers get on rolls, folks, where Jack McKeon had happened in the 2003 postseason. Every move you make works out great for you. Doesn't happen that way all your life, though. Doesn't mean you're any smarter than anybody else.
The 1-0 is lined into left field. That is a base hit for Everett. He's now 1 for 4, a 2-out single. In case you think, well, there's been so many interesting things, I mean, nothing else could happen, let us just remind you that Brad Lidge will be coming on in the 9th. And Albert Pujols, Larry Walker, and Reggie Sanders will be coming up.
Is that all?
That's all. Now listen to the ovation for Willie Taveras, who might have made the catch of the year for the Houston Astros. Now, we don't do every game here. Obviously, we're all over the place. We've seen a lot of people go up on the hill to try to make catches. There's the pitch to Taveras, and it's low, ball 1. We saw Edmonds yesterday play a ball on a bounce up on the hill. I've seen Craig Biggio do a face plant on the hill. I don't think I've ever seen it. I've seen Berkman have some trouble up on the hill. Listen to this. It's all about Willie Taveras right now. That catch will never be forgotten here in Houston. Marquis sets. And the 1-0, a bouncer between third and short into left, a base hit. Everett will stop at second. Have you ever seen anybody catch a ball on the hill before?
No, I have, but I mean the thing about it, it wasn't so much that Willie Taveras laid out or took a dive or anything. It's just that you don't know what it's like. I mean, you try to imagine in your mind you're running straight away, and all of a sudden you start running up a hill, and think what your eyeballs are doing when you've changed level like that. And the concentration and the coordination to be able to do that, it takes a remarkable athlete, and Willie Taveras is all of that.
On the other side of the coin, Jason Marquis committed a crucial error in the bottom of the seventh on a bunt that allowed the go-ahead run to score, an unearned run, and then he himself popped up a bunt attempt, could not advance the runner. So it has not been a good day for Jason Marquis. Craig Biggio is the batter now, 0 for 2 with a walk and a sacrifice. And the pitch from Marquis in the dirt, down and away, ball 1.
Well, when Brad Lidge was going to come in game 2, when he was warming up ready to come in, the Astros had a 2-1 lead. They got 2 more insurance runs. That allowed him to come in and be able to challenge Albert Pujols. With Pujols due to lead off next inning, in the 9th inning, if the Astros could get 1 more run here, that means Pujols with a home run could not tie the game.
2-1 Houston, bottom of the 8th, 2 on, 2 out. A look back by Marquis, and the 1-0 to Biggio is fouled back, 1-1. At second base, Adam Everett, he's got good speed. At first, Willie Taveras, he's got a blinding speed. Taguchi out in left center field now, playing Biggio to pull. Tony La Russa thrown out. Jim Edmonds thrown out. Phil Cuzzi strike zone, infuriating both teams, but the Cardinals much more so today. The 1-1 is high, ball 2. And Tony La Russa, who before yesterday's game said that he hoped yesterday's home plate umpire Wally Bell wouldn't get caught up in the atmosphere with Roger Clemens pitching and to give him an inch here and an inch there off the outside corner. As it turns out, Wally Bell was not the guy that Tony La Russa needed to worry about. 2-1 the count. And the pitch to Biggio, a check swing foul back, and it's 2-2.
Well, I didn't really understand. I mean, you know, Tony's always looking for that edge, but I also know that as a former player that when players say things to the umpires or say things about the umpires, that's not a real good idea. I mean, umpires have memories like elephants. They don't forget very much.
And La Russa was ejected while he was in the dugout, and then he came out and he really got after Cuzzi then. And we'll have to wait and find out if it's because he was ejected or still arguing over the strike zone. The 2-2 and a swing and a pop-up back is short. Eckstein drifting back onto the outfield grass. He is there and will make the catch to end the inning. Well, here we go. Top of the 9th. Brad Lidge will be coming in. Brad Lidge is on the mound for the Astros. Albert Pujols, Larry Walker, and Reggie Sanders coming up for the Cardinals. Lidge got a save yesterday, got a save in game 2, had 42 during the regular season. Pujols today, a strikeout, a sac fly, and a base hit. Lidge into his windup, and the first pitch, a fastball right down the chute for a strike. Pujols just 2 for 13 in his career against Lidge, including 3 strikeouts. Now Willie Taveras races from left center way over to right center after that first pitch. Here's the 0-1 and a high fastball fouled back above our heads, 0-2.
Well, Cecil Cooper, the bench coach of the Astros, is also in charge of moving the outfielders, and he got Willie's attention there.
Eric Bruntlett has taken over at second base for Craig Biggio. 0-2 on Pujols, 2-1 Houston in the 9th. And the pitch, a slider down and away. A ball and 2 strikes, and Pujols will reach over himself, pick up the ball in the dirt, and throw it out of play.
I'm sure that Lidge goes into the number 1 spot in the batting order then. And Bruntlett is batting 5th.
Bill Garner hopes that he doesn't need to worry about that. See how this, you never know, though. Bruntlett is listed in the 5 spot up on the board. And now Pujols lines the 1-2 into right center, and it drops for a base hit. Caroms off Taveras, bounces over to the right fielder Lane, who fires it back in to hold Albert Pujols to a single.
Well, Taveras made the great play last inning because he was playing so deep and was able to get there. This time he was playing deep again, and the ball hit just in front of him. And the Astros got a bit of a break, though, because when it hit off Taveras' body, it caromed over to Jason Lane, and that kept Albert Pujols at first base. But you knew Albert was going to have a good at-bat, and he did.
If people are wondering, and I'm sure some are, about a pinch runner, Pujols is Pujols, and I don't know if they want to take him out. And there's no burner on the bench right now for the Cardinals. So Pujols stays. Larry Walker is the hitter. Lidge sets and fires, and a fastball is just low. Ball one, a pitch that has been called a strike more often than not. And if many of you are joining us or getting in and out of the car, the strike zone has been a major source of controversy today, with Tony La Russa and Jim Edmonds both getting ejected from the game today by home plate umpire Phil Cuzzi. Lidge sets. Pujols the lead. And the 1-0 to Walker, a swing and a foul back at a high fastball. It's 1-1.
Well, remember, Albert Pujols this year led the Cardinals in steals, or certainly stolen base percentage, and Lidge does have that slow delivery. So we'll have to see if Albert might take a gamble, and it would probably be a pretty good risk as slow as Lidge is to the plate.
Walker is 0 for 2 with a walk this afternoon. 1-1 the count, and the pitch from Lidge. A fastball there for a strike, 1-2. Walker in his career 2 for 12 with 6 strikeouts against Brad Lidge. And Walker a quiet 1 for 11 in the series, playing through injuries. Everybody standing at Minute Maid. The Astros 3 outs away from a 3-1 lead in the series, but a runner on for the Cardinals. The 1-2 to Walker, up and away. Lidge throwing more fastballs today than he did yesterday.
Well, I think he has to mix. You know, we talked about Francisco Rodriguez with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim and how he just falls in love with that slider. Lidge has a great slider, but you got to mix in that heat too. When you're 98, 99 with a gas, you got to use that pitch too.
Runner at first, nobody out, 2-2. The count on Walker. And the pitch from Lidge, a fastball popped up and out of play left side. We'd like to welcome those of you who are tuning in expecting the beginning of the American League Championship Series. Here in Houston, Dan Shulman and Dave Campbell bringing you Game 4 of the National League Championship Series. Bonus coverage here on ESPN Radio in a wild and wildly entertaining game. The Astros lead the Cardinals 2-1 in the top of the ninth. Albert Pujols singled to begin the inning. Now Brad Lidge facing Larry Walker. And the 2-2, a slider down and in. Snap throw to first, and Pujols just back in ahead of the tag. So the count now full on Walker. Jeff Suppan and Brandon Backe were the starters today. Both pitched well. Backe going 5 2/3, 1 run. Suppan 5 innings, 1 run. Jason Lane has homered for the Astros. A Jason Marquis error leading to the go-ahead run for the Astros in the bottom of the 7th. 3-2 on Walker. Pujols not going, and the pitch is lined past the diving Berkman into right field. A base hit. Pujols will make the turn and rumble into third on a single by Walker. And the Cardinals have the tying run at third base with nobody out in the 9th inning.
Well, the St. Louis Cardinals knew they were starting to get on fumes, and the good thing for them is they had their best offense coming up in the 9th inning. Pujols and Walker have tremendous at-bats, and Brad Lidge has kind of got his back up against it right now. I think what the Astros have to do is play for the double play here and allow the tying run to score. If you play your infield in, you risk allowing a big inning.
And now Phil Garner is going to come to the mound to talk to Brad Lidge. Again, for those of you who just joined us, expecting to hear the beginning of the White Sox and Angels, that's coming your way shortly. A reminder, and bear with us, those of you who have been with us all day, the fireworks today here in Houston with Tony La Russa and Jim Edmonds both getting ejected, not at the same time. Both, in a sense, arguing about the strike zone is what led to their ejections. Phil Cuzzi has had at times a big strike zone and at times a big and inconsistent strike zone. And while both teams have been upset, the Cardinals have been the angrier of the two teams. But now they are fighting their way through it. Also today we had an extraordinary catch that you'll see all over SportsCenter and baseball tonight. Willie Taveras going up on the hill in center field to rob John Rodriguez, who came up as a pinch hitter for Edmonds with a full count after Edmonds got ejected in a 1-run game in the 8th. A remarkable catch by Taveras. Now first and third, nobody out, and the batter is Reggie Sanders. 2-1 Astros in the ninth. Lidge sets. And the pitch, and Sanders chased a slider down and away. It's 0-1.
Dan, the one thing you have to worry about with that explosive slider that Lidge just threw right there, if he bounces it, it's a very difficult pitch for Brad Lidge to block. But he showed Osmus showed good courage in calling it right there.
Sanders 0 for 7 with 6 strikeouts in his career against Lidge. 0-1 the count, first and third, nobody out. 2-1 Astros in the ninth, and the pitch. A swing and a miss, another slider, and it's 0-2. Ensberg a step inside the bag at third. Berkman holding the runner at first. The middle infielders are even with the bag. Would you describe them as halfway right now?
Yeah. I think that they're certainly a little bit short of double play depth.
Yep.
But right here, Lidge has got to, if he's going to throw another slider, just throw the same slider. Don't try to throw that super slider. That's the one that you bounce to the backstop.
The Astros up a run with the Cardinals with runners at first and third. Nobody out in the ninth inning here in Houston. 0-2 the count. And the pitch, a slider bounced weakly toward third. Pujols coming home. The throw to the plate, the tag. They got him. Ensberg to Osmus for the out on Pujols at the plate.
Well, that's a judgment play. Look out, Walker's going to third.
Walker goes to third. The Astros are saying, Ensberg is saying he called time, and I saw him do it as he headed back to third. Ensberg is saying that he called time. Now he gets time put in, and now Ensberg is coming down to Cuzzy, the home plate umpire, and saying, I called time. And Cuzzy apparently is saying, if you did, it wasn't it me. Phil Garner's going to come out and argue now as Larry Walker runs from second to third with nobody paying attention, or with the Astros thinking time had been called.
Well, first of all, Albert Pujols had to make a value judgment whether to go or not. Ensberg made a great play to throw him out at the plate. Osmus putting the tag on, but I thought they called time, but I don't think it's going to happen, because right now Walker's going to stay at third.
Now, as you said to me about a different situation yesterday, a player cannot call time. He can ask for time, and it must be granted by an umpire. I saw Ensberg ask for time, and you just kind of assume it's been granted because the play had stopped. The play was finished, but give a lot of credit to Larry Walker, thought of for years and years as one of the best base runners in baseball.
Well, just a great play, and you just have a feeling that's going to come in and haunt the Astros somehow this inning.
So it's first and third, 1 out. 2-1 Houston, ninth inning. John Mabry is the batter. Ensberg even with the bag at third. The middle infielders have backed up a little bit now. A double play ends it.
Remember, Mabry had the big hit off Lidge yesterday, a double into the corner in left field.
Lidge looking in toward Mabry. Mabry 1 for 7, 3 strikeouts in his career against Brad Lidge. Lidge sets and deals, and a fastball is there for a strike, 0-1. It appears to me that Ensberg was under the impression that Cuzzy, the home plate umpire, granted time. Ensberg was looking in toward the plate before Walker ran to third, and then as Walker ran to third again. 0-1 the count on John Mabry. First and third, 1 out, and the pitch from Lidge. A swing and a miss at a neck-high fastball, and it's 0-2.
The other thing, in addition to getting within 90 feet at third base, by Walker going to third, that means that Berkman has to hold the runner on at first, and that opens up a big hole on the right side of the diamond.
Reggie Sanders, the runner at first. Just a wild game here today, and the Astros clinging to a 2-1 lead in the ninth. 0-2 the count on Mabry. And the pitch, a fastball grounded out to second, but not sharply. To second for 1, back to first. Double play! They turned it, and they win it! And the Astros erupt on the field, hugging one another out on the infield as if they had just won the World Series. What a game here in Houston today. Brundtland went to his left, fired the ball to Everett, fired the ball back to Berkman, and somehow on a slow bouncer to second with a left-handed batter coming out of the box, the Astros turn the double play and win a remarkable game here in Houston.